105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network present Dallas Cowboys Football 2022.
Prescott walks the dog. Touchdown Cowboys.
In crystal clear HD stereo, today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys, made in the heart of Texas. Texaco, unbeatable mileage to get you to unbeatable tailgating. Fill up with Texaco with Tech Prime. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com, trusted by millions, trusted by America's team. And by Gold Medal Pools, official pool service provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
Now, here's Eric Chiafalo and Brian Broaddus.
Sweet, sweet playoff time, ladies and gentlemen. It is here. How exciting. Are you kidding me? The official countdown to a Cowboy playoff kickoff starts right now on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan, a Cowboy game day. Going to Tampa, taking on Tom. Brian Broaddus. We have the General Gavin Dawson hanging out with us as well. And it's a full-on pregame party right now. Broaddus picked the Cowboys to get the victory, and that's all I need to know. That's all the confidence I need to go feel great about what's to take place tonight, Brian Broaddus.
Well, some days you're right, some days you're wrong. I'm hoping these are one of these days that they kind of figure out things defensively. With Tampa, their defense does a great job. They put a lot of pressure on you with their front. The linebackers are outstanding. They don't give you a lot on the back end, though. But we've seen the Cowboys against a really good Philadelphia Eagle defense. Same kind of defense, be able to make some plays, move the football. And I'm kind of hopeful that the Cowboy defense finds that pass rush again. They're going to have to in this football game if they're going to want to win. Tampa I think there's some spots in this offensive line that you can kind of take advantage of. Donovan Smith, the left tackle, I don't think is playing particularly well. I think the people at the Buccaneers would tell you that as well. That's a spot they're worried about. And then with Ryan Jensen being back there at center,
a little rust there. So yeah, they haven't had a lot of work with that inside group altogether, and maybe the Cowboys can take advantage with Osa, with Hankins, with some of that pressure of their own up the middle. Okay, beautiful. I'd like to get a Cowboy Nation vibe check going right now, 877-881-1053. Where are we at from a confidence meter standpoint? Because Bakersfield trash on the Twitch and the fan cam. We are rocking on Twitch and YouTube right now, 1053thefan.com as well. But he says, I haven't felt nervous all day, and now it's starting to hit me. And that's what happens. You inch closer and closer to playoff time. You start bailing out of work a little bit early. You got your sights set on what's going to be what's on the menu as well. What are we grilling? What are we smoking? What are we doing? And then it's of course Miller time as well.
Well, Gavin, there's you've seen these enough too, and there's nothing you can do. As a fan, you could cheer.
Oh, don't say that. Walchuk right now is going on a walk. He's becoming one with nature. He's meditating. He's going to do everything in his power, do what he can to help will this Cowboy team to playoff victory.
Everybody's going to will them, but there's nothing really you can do. This one's going to be up to the coaches, up to the players, and what we've talked about leading up to this game, and really we've been talking about the entire season about this team is, there have been some faults along the way. There have been some really, really good things that this team has done, but there's been some things along the way that have some concern. And if the Cowboys, Gavin, can find a way to, like I mentioned, get that pass rush back, don't turn over the football, don't give them anything cheap on special teams or anything like that, and maybe create some negative situations, this team, I know, can play with anybody in the league. It's just a matter of getting that done tonight.
And I would add to that, can you limit the big plays? Yeah. Like when we talked with Stephen Jones earlier in the week and we asked him about Xavier Rhodes starting or, contributing at the other cornerback spot, he seemed confident that they're going to be able to help him out schematically. Okay, so if you can do that and also run the football. Now you're making Tampa respect your run game. Then I think you get more favorable matchups down the field, and I could see the Cowboys winning a game like that. Those are two big ifs to me, but man, it is so exciting with an opportunity like this in front of the team.
Man, it's incredible, and I think like Tyron Smith, a lot of pressure there of like, could he have one of these vintage Tyron Smith games? I think that would be something that would get the running game going in a big way. And then
playoffs bring out youth and old guys,
right?
Because that adrenaline makes makes you
Peters.
temporarily younger.
Let's go knock some heads off Jason Peters, right? And then Trayvon Diggs, if you're going to travel with Mike Evans and we're going to schematically help you Xavier Rhodes on everybody else with playing double coverage, here's Malik Hooker playing over top. Now we need Diggs to be able to secure and be a kind of a shutdown corner if he's going to have to follow Mike Evans around all game. So
yeah,
he's got to hold up his end of the bargain if Dan Quinn's going to stretch the defense to go help Xavier Rhodes. But that's the place they find themselves now.
Yeah, earlier in before our show was with the guys with KMC and what they were talking about with George Teague, and George was saying, listen, play this thing left corner, right corner, and then wherever you feel like that you need to roll the coverage. And when he means roll the coverage is you could shift it to where you take that guy out, whether you want to double him, bracket him, however you want to do this. So George was under the impression to just play left and right corners like they do, and then kind of work it on how you want to play the safeties or the linebackers behind that. And me personally, I the guy that I really worry about, and I know that the scare is Mike Evans and down the field. Heck, Julio Jones caught a big ball in the first game against you.
He sure did.
On a vertical play against Anthony Brown, and you just can't allow that to happen. Gavin was talking about don't allow the big plays. Limit the big plays. They're going to make some big plays. Just don't let them happen at those crucial times in this ball game.
Yeah, that's been an Achilles heel. It was a strength all season long, it felt like, for the Cowboys defensively, not giving up the big play, especially through the air. But things have since changed, and you've seen much worse quarterback-wide receiver combos go down the sideline on you for 30, 40 yards. And so the Brady Evans thing scares me, because those are the plays that kill you quickly.
Yeah,
I don't want to be killed quickly.
I hear you, and I think the great thing about this coaching staff is once they've seen enough, they are going to make an adjustment, right? Mm-hmm. We saw that with Kelvin Joseph. We saw that with Jalen Smith last year. We've seen that with a number of players where I feel like old coaching staffs would leave it in there and ask the guys to execute better. I think there has not only been personnel adjustments, but there's going to be a significant schematic one that should give the Cowboys a much better chance to execute a good defensive game plan than maybe we've seen for 5 weeks.
Yeah, and that should absolutely bring some confidence. Right now, I would say it's mixed emotions on the fan text. A lot of people, the nerves are starting to get ratcheted up. A lot of people bailing out of work right now, feeling nervous. All nerves, says the 610. Nervous as hell, says the 972. But we got some crotch first confidence going. We got the Miller Lite flowing. We got the smokers lit up. Chili's going down. We got Chili in the 815. Rockford, Illinois is checking in right now on the home of the Cowboys. What's going to be the Gavin Dawson game plan when you get out of here? Are we putting some food together? Are we putting a menu together? Or are we just winging this thing tonight?
We're going to be hitting the pizza delivery.
Okay, very nice.
That's the plan for me. And yeah, probably add some boneless wings.
Love it.
Maybe some Cinesticks on top of that. But
that goes hard in the paint.
I'll be getting home about 45 minutes before game time. So it's just going to be enough time to get ready, not enough time to prepare something like these folks on the text. They're doing it right. Having a holiday like today, having it be MLK, it set people up beautifully to have that barbecue spread or whatever coming off the pit right in time.
All right, it is the official pregame show of America's team. You do not need a complicated play to bring it into the end zone. That's why you should trust the team at blockchain.com to make buying, selling, and trading crypto, well, easy. Play smarter, not harder with blockchain.com. And we're absolutely loaded, of course, today. As always, we got Donovan Wilson. We'll get that player profile going coming up here in just a few minutes. Joe Buck on the call with Troy Aikman tonight for ESPN. Joins us at the top of the hour. Very exciting. Behind enemy lines, Gene Deckeroff. It's going to be an absolute loaded program here to get you started on a playoff game day for the Dallas Cowboys. With guys returning, Broadus, who are you most excited from an impact standpoint tonight? Because you get Vander Esch.
Yeah, Leighton Vander Esch.
Tyler Biadasz, Hankins as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, anybody, you could take all the names of the guys that have missed games, and to me, Vander Esch is the one. He has been the glue when you look at how they've been able to play some better run defense. And I think the first time around, this team didn't have Hankins in there playing as that defensive tackle. And now with Hankins is done, you look at the games that Leighton Vander Esch has played behind Hankins, super productive games tackle-wise. They're going to need to get to the ball. They're going to need to rally. They're going to need to tackle well in this football game. So having Hankins in there, I think, helps Vander Esch. Vander Esch in there helps Clark, because we're not going to see, like last week with Terry McLaurin running across the field on the first touchdown, guys that are going to drag are going to get hit by Vander Esch. They're not going to get missed, or they're not going to allow that to happen in this game. So having him in there, having the smarts, having the toughness, having the tackles in there, the tackler in there, I think is going to be a big, big thing for the Cowboys this week.
I'm going to go with Biotish because it puts 3 starting offensive linemen back at their natural spots. And if you can get that along with the best game from Tyron Smith, this is game 4 at right tackle for him, then I think you have a chance to get your running game going. In 21 and 22's regular season, there was a period of time, and maybe it only lasted 7 to 8 weeks or so, where they were a legit pick your poison attack. And I think if you can do that, scoring's going to be easy, but hanging on to a lead is going to be easier. Can we get to the fourth quarter and go on a 9-minute drive? If you can't run the ball, I don't think you can.
Well, this team also, let's be honest, though, this Bucs team has been, they're 8-9 for a reason. They've lost to some bad quarterbacks along the way. I mean, I just went through the Desmond Ritters, the Jacoby Brissetts, P.J. Walker. Come on. I mean, I know they're getting some guys back and healthy and all that, but this team as the Buccaneers, has not played well overall.
It's just a question of how much better are they going to be? How close are they going to get to last year's team with these guys back?
They're
I don't know.
They're 5-8 since October, I believe. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
They're 6-1 with Hicks and Vea playing together.
They are, but they've also lost to some really, really bad quarterbacks. That to me, when it comes down to playoff football, it's not about the defensive tackles. It's about who you're playing at quarterback, and that's why we're all terrified of Tom Brady today.
100%.
Because we're all terrified of the quarterback.
What are we more confident in Cowboys defense or offense tonight? Because they both give me the heebie-jeebies to an extent, but knowing that I'm playing a corner that hasn't played it down for my team, and Broadus describes as a corner that can't run, the defense is scaring me a touch more.
It's so hard to be confident in the offense based on how they played last week. I'm going to go with the defense because I think it's a perfect matchup with their left tackle and a stationary Tom Brady.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to feel better about the defense.
I'm going to feel better about the defense, but I will say this: I do think they figure out a way to run the ball tonight. I do, and because
the Cowboys,
they did it in week 1, and I could see the path of hitting things quick and making this Tampa defense have to react to it. So, but the defense, I'll take some confidence in. I think they're going to get a pass rush tonight.
Okay, and that would be hugely encouraging. We know Donovan Smith, the left tackle, he's been problematic for them all year.
Right.
Micah Parsons had his way with them quite a bit in the first matchup earlier in the season, and then Smith has gone on to have one of his worst years of his career. He's 4th in the sport in penalties when it comes to the tackle position. But I want you to reiterate that stat that you gave us earlier in the program today about this Cowboys pass rush. They are not getting the holding calls.
Not at all. Haven't had a holding call. And Bobby Belt and I talked about it last night. We did our podcast, Love of the Star. It's out today. We encourage you to listen to it sometime, but I hope you already have. But we were talking about, Bobby and I yesterday, they have not generated or got a holding call for them since week 10 against the Green Bay Packers. We'll see tonight. Donovan Smith is a holder. We'll see inside. We'll see if Shaq Mason, he's a holder inside. So we'll see if the officials will let this thing go tonight. Or are they going to call, both ways? Where if the Cowboys get in a little bit of trouble, or if the Buccaneers get in a little bit of trouble, are we going to see holding calls tonight? If all of a sudden you see guys rushing the passer and it looks like they're being pulled down and Craig Wolstad and his crew are letting it fly, then there goes your hope once again. But you need to create some negative plays. This is one of the worst teams in NFL when it comes to 3rd and long in the league with Tom Brady as their quarterback. Find a way to create negative plays. You could do that through penalties.
The official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys is brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. And Dawson, people are surprised they didn't have you as a boneless wing guy on the TruckWreck.com fan text right now. You threw in the boneless wings with the pizza order.
Yeah, that's a request from Abby. And when I get them from a pizza joint, I prefer just to have the boneless.
Okay.
They're just not quite up to the Orange Magic standard, to be honest with you.
I certainly understand that.
Yeah.
I came home with wings recently, and my mother-in-law thought that I was bringing in the Gavin Dawson Orange Magic, and she was very excited for a second.
Did she turn and walk away?
And then when I showed her that it was not the Orange Magic, she was like, I'm good.
We got to get Mrs. Chiafalo a new batch then. She's looking for them that much.
Man, I'll tell you, she was raving about them. My mother-in-law could not stop talking about those wings for quite some time. Mother-in-law, but yeah, either way, my mom would appreciate them, I'm sure, as well. But shout out to all the people that are dialing up some legit food tonight, because that's the way to do it. right? I mean, if it was completely up to you, you'd be right there at your pit right now, dialing up something special that you maybe brought us, you watched on YouTube this weekend.
No, actually, the ideal thing would be apt to be by myself watching this game.
You need to be by yourself because you're going to get angry. You're not a fan, and then all of a sudden kickoff happens, and the fan comes out abroad.
I just realized that I can't do anything to help them win or lose this game. I can't. That's what I mean. I could watch it and be objective and say, okay, they lost the game or won the game because of this. But I mean, cheering openly and all that, I can get mad. I've done that before. But in the playoffs, there's nothing you can do to help your team as far as
the hay's in the barn.
You just kind of you just hope that they got enough players to win the race. That's all you got.
As you get older and towards crustiness, you get a little bit more equipped to just accept your fate as a sports fan. I think Wolchuk right now, right around the age of 30, it's still in a mode of really getting amped up and excited. And I think as the years go on, you realize the disappointment and the probabilities. And, at some point you just you accept it that, hey, if they win, it's going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. But if they lose, I can't let it ruin my life.
No, that's the thing about it is, you're going to get to a point where if they lose this game tonight, it will probably be for the things that we've talked about for 17 weeks. That's probably, and that'll be the post-game show. Well, they lost this game tonight because they didn't do this and they didn't do this and they didn't handle this very well. And that stuff, going in that they have some faults, but you also know they have some things that they could also take advantage of.
No question about it. All right, we're just getting started here on the official pregame party of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go around the NFL, take a look at the things that unfolded from this wild card weekend, plus player profile. Let's hear from Donovan Wilson next right here on The Fan. kickoff. It is playoff time here in the DFW, and it's great to have you in your home of the Cowboys, the official pregame party of America's team. And we are very excited to have Joe Buck join us here at the top of the hour. He's going to be on the call tonight for ESPN with Troy. That's going to be fantastic. We'll take a look at some things around the NFL, some big-time news that affects the NFL involving a college coach. Some news just broke. We'll get you that in just a moment. But let's bring in Donovan Wilson for today's player profile.
We're talking to the leading tackler this season for the Dallas Cowboys, Donovan Wilson. How you doing, D?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing great, doing great. Now you guys are in the playoffs. You were here last year. How does it feel, and how's the locker room handling it this year compared to last year going into this game?
We're just taking that first step today. Good communication, everybody getting with it again, and we're just ready.
Now, I know you've been ready for a while. In fact, I was talking to you earlier about when you were a rookie. You sprained your ankle in the preseason and slowed things down. You were making some noise by the time from the first step you got here.
Man, all that just leads up to this moment. It's just been preparing me, and I'm ready to just take that next step.
Can you talk about the camaraderie on the defense? The whole team's got some camaraderie, but the defense seemed like y'all special, especially with J.K. back there.
It's just a brotherhood we built over a training camp, and brotherhood just been getting stronger and stronger as we've been going through stuff, and I'm ready to see where we at now.
All right, when J.K. started the season, we're talking about J-Ron Curse, when he started the season a little slow, you were making a lot of plays early, and it's like, okay, are you going to get the green dot? J.K. going to keep wearing the green dot? How do y'all decide who's the guy with the green dot on the helmet calling the plays? Y'all quarterback the defense, basically.
Well, I really just leave that up to him and Malik. I'm really the one who just,
do what you do.
Yeah.
But you make the plays. In fact, you've been hitting a lot. In fact, I think the league's been noticing you hitting a lot. Is that one of the things you brought in from A&M?
I just like to bring that same physicality every play, every snap, and then just go about it that way.
Now, I mentioned you're the leading tackler, but in the first game of the season, it seemed like you picked off Tom Brady. What was that like?
It was just a great moment, one that you keep dreaming about. It was just a good moment for me.
Okay, let's break down the play. Let's go back into history because it was the first game of the season. And what was the play and how did it happen?
Oh, just good eyes and a good break on the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. And you got one from the GOAT.
Yes, sir.
So does it help at all that you guys have played Tampa Bay before?
Yeah, it's just good film for us to study going into this game and then get bits and bits about it.
And what do you say to anybody say, well, y'all playing on grass, and sometimes grass is different. It slows the defense down. Does that play anything at all with what y'all doing?
Well, we got all type of stuff in the equipment room. Whatever steps we got to do to be ready for the game, we're ready to take it.
And the other little thing is, this is a Monday night game.
Mm-hmm.
On your prep, how you get going for the game, does that night game affect anything? Like you laying around the hotel, you get antsy, you listen to some music. What do you normally do on a night game?
Well, Monday night game, this really helps us, give us an extra day to prepare. And I just take all the extra time I get to bring into the game so I can play fast.
Any kind of music you listening to going in, or you just not listening to nothing?
I listen to music.
What you listen to? Go ahead and give a shout out.
I listen to all type of Young Boy. Young Boy and Kodak.
Yeah,
I like Lil Baby. I like all type of music.
Oh, Lil Baby's the best. I tried to tell people a long time ago, Lil Baby better than Da Baby. They didn't know.
Yeah.
So, all right, going into the night's game, anything kind of food you like to eat? Anything? I mean, I know you're from Shreveport, so you get some Cajuns or what?
No, I keep the same little menu, whatever they got for me, steak and potatoes.
And finally, does a high-scoring game favor you guys or a low-scoring game?
We're not looking into that. We're just going to take it one play at a time. All
right, good luck tonight, Donovan Wilson.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
How about that? Donovan Wilson, team's leading tackler. He's been all over the field. He brings the level of physicality and toughness that you like, a little edge to the defense, which is always cool. Shout out to Chris Arnold, a 3-time Hall of Famer, always getting it done. Donovan Wilson and today's player profile brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, better lives. Papa John's, the official pizza of your Dallas Cowboys. And gentlemen, as we take a look around the National Football League and what went down this weekend, I do need to bring you the fact that it looks like Jim Harbaugh will be returning to Michigan as their head football coach.
Yeah, there was some thought about him, maybe taking some interviews. The Colts job opened up. That was maybe a logical choice for him to maybe dive into that one. But yeah, he's going to stay at Michigan man and all that. And, that'll end that saga. That program every year, it seems like they have to deal with their coach kind of flirting with the NFL. But, as we get to the interview cycles with the Sean Paytons and guys like that, he's not going to be a part of that. If I can say something real quick about Donovan Wilson, going to have to play huge tonight. And I mean, when you look for the way that the the Buccaneers won the game the first time around, it was perimeter runs. It was Leonard Fournette and those perimeter runs. They figured out about Diggs that he was going to play soft corner. They're going to need that edge, with Armstrong, whoever's playing that right edge, but they're also going to need Wilson playing downhill fast, and they're going to need Van Der Esch like we talked about early. Got to get bodies to the ball quick, make Fournette have to stop, start, that kind of thing. White's the same type of thing. Get bodies in position, tackle well, be physical, because last time they didn't do a very good job of handling those perimeter runs. Tom Brady didn't have to be Tom Brady in that game. It was really about them with Fournette running the ball. Wilson's going to play a big role in that and making sure that doesn't happen again.
Are you much more confident in the Cowboys' run defense tonight? That what happened in week one won't happen?
Yeah, well, I feel like, though, with Hankins that you can control the middle, and so if he's grabbing blocks, then all of a sudden that allows your linebackers. Clark was another guy that wasn't a part of what you were doing in that game in week one. So Clark running into the ball, Van Der Esch running the ball. It's going to be Wilson filling in the alley. They've got to get some people up there. They cannot miss tackles. They can't let, Diggs, to me, I just wish one time we would see Diggs come flying off the edge and turn that ball back inside. We just don't need him to be getting blocked on the outside by those big Tampa receivers.
Yeah, I'm much more confident in the run defense now with Hankins, with Van Der Esch back, the edge setting. I feel like outside of the Jags game, I feel like they've gotten some of the edge runs contained a little bit more than maybe what they did earlier in the season. And Tampa has shown, granted they get Jensen back today, but they're maybe the worst rushing attack offensively in the entire league. That's what this season has shown. So I'm confident that the Cowboys' run defense will be in a good place tonight. You mentioned Donovan Wilson being a key for that, and he is today's player profile. Now, from the weekend that was, holy smokes, Jacksonville, Saturday night, that was electric stuff. Watching Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson climb back down 27-0 with 28 seconds remaining in quarter number 2. And then they end up getting the victory. I want to play you 2 different calls of this. The first, we go to Jacksonville Jaguars radio. This is their game-winning call, and it's Frank Frangie, who's a friend of the program. We caught up with him earlier in the season. Here is his call as the Jags made the epic comeback.
36-yarder from the right hash to win the game. Logan Cook will put it down. Riley Patterson. Cook puts it down. Patterson's kick is up. The field goal is good! 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 The Jaguars have won it! The Jaguars have won it! They have come back from 27-0 to win the game and move on! How good is that?
Yeah, it's like this generation got its Bills-Oilers comeback. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And what was crazy about this one is they didn't get a bunch of turnovers. It was just solid defense.
They turned over the ball a bunch.
Yeah, Lawrence threw 4 picks.
4 picks, yeah.
But they didn't have to take advantage and get a bunch of turnovers. They got one missed field goal.
Yeah,
that was really their only break in the second half.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Doug Peterson and his ability to understand when to go for it on 4th down was incredible, and it's weird. You've seen the heel turn of Brandon Staley right in front of our eyes, where he's got great opportunities to be Mr. Aggressive, go for it, 4th and shorts. They punt or they settle for field goals when they had win probability opportunities to go for it on 4th down that would have helped them a ton, and Doug Peterson took advantage of his opportunities to go for it on 4th down.
This is one of the critical things that I always talk about with coaches and knowing the condition of your team. Clearly, Jacksonville had momentum at that point. You find a way to get a first down there, the ball game is likely over. So to me, that's when you punt, you're taking a risk there. There's a team the momentum is clearly on their side, but now you give them the ball back and then you lose the football game. That's one of those things you got to understand as a head coach. What is the condition of your team while you're making those decisions?
Okay. Go ahead. I guess it is possible for a team to be more postseason cursed than the Cowboys. That's the Chargers right there. I mean, 2006, leading 21-13 against Tom Brady and the Patriots. You get a pick with 6 minutes to play. You're going to win, and you fumble it to give it back to the Patriots. It's just cruel what has happened to this organization.
Man, it is crazy, dude. To be a Chargers fan, like, you're not in San Diego anymore. LA doesn't really seem to want you, and everybody that wears that uniform ends up on the wrong end of an epic playoff disaster. So it is a tough time. But here is the call from Al Michaels, who was sitting alongside Tony Dungy when the Jaguars were making their epic comeback.
Here we go for the win. Got it, but there's a flag down. There's a flag down as everybody's running out onto the field, but there's a penalty marker.
Offside. Defense number 26.
And they call it on the defense.
You think he had some money on the Chargers or something?
I think here's what Al Michaels' problem is. He's seen too much.
Yeah.
And nothing can excite him anymore. He's a part of miracles. He's been doing this. He's seen epic comebacks. He's seen it in every sport. He's just seen too much now.
This game, he was like, do you believe in miracles? I guess so. Let's go home.
Sure.
I think the year at Amazon with those Thursday games.
It took its toll.
It took its toll on him. But
I thought it would bring it out of him because he finally got an epic game.
Nothing against Tony Dungy sitting next to him, but Tony Dungy is the most just stoic guy you'll ever talk to. Nice man, but there's no real excitement over there with Tony Dungy. You know, he could have been kind of yelling along, doing
Tony
some
Dungy
stuff.
doesn't lead the
He could
league
have
in
been
personality.
He could have been like Dave Lapham at Cincinnati on TD Tuesday, Yeah! He could have been that guy. He wasn't.
No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. And you can hear it, though, from the start. This is a game-winning play. This is make it or break it moment. And as Hagee pointed out earlier with KNC, listen to just how uninterested he is or disinterested Al Michaels is just in the start here, the first couple of words.
Here we go.
He doesn't care. Here we go. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm not going to care. I got my steak and shrimp at halftime, and my season's over now.
I think Gavin's right. I think he had money on the game. He lives in L.A. He lives in L.A. It might be like, what did I just see? I got to go back and deal with all these people at home.
It's on you for betting on the Chargers, man.
Whatever the case, though, it's been my favorite guy for a long time. I think he went over the hill, and that's why he ended up on that Amazon show. He ended up on that Amazon show because he was already showing signs of this lack of energy. He's a shell of himself.
He really is. He really is. And this weekend really just reinforced the fact that playoff games are never easy. It doesn't matter if Skylar Thompson's the quarterback and he's going up against Josh Allen in Buffalo. Things are going to get weird and wonky on you. Doesn't matter if Trevor Lawrence is down by 1 million and he's thrown 4 interceptions. Doesn't matter if Baltimore is going to have their quarterback or not. Things are going to be difficult, and that's what the playoffs are all about. And this whole weekend was extremely fun. With no Tua, no Lamar Jackson. It's Geno Smith, it's Daniel Jones, whatever, these games, and they end up just being absolutely epic. And that's what I think we're in store for tonight. This is going to come down to the wire, and it's going to be bleeping epic, dude.
That's why billions of dollars are paid for this league, for what we saw this past weekend. And it'll probably, and that's why. I mean, that's why people want to jump on board and watch and be a part of this because of exactly what we see in these games.
You can't tune away.
You can't.
Even though it's not the Cowboys playing,
you watch
get
them
this
all.
incredible tension watching.
You watch them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great NFL undercard weekend, all leading up to tonight's main event, Cowboys and Bucks. It is the official pregame show of America's team. We are way less than 3 hours to a Cowboy playoff kickoff, and we're brought to you by the National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org. Let's get you Joe Buck at the top of the hour, but we go live to Tampa Bay. Inside the Star we go with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, next right here on The Fan. Well, I must say thank you to Todd Archer, making me feel really, really good right now as we are leading up to a Cowboy playoff kickoff versus Tom Brady. What do you expect from Dak Prescott tonight? Well, Todd Archer reminds us that, Dak has the second highest QBR against playoff teams during the regular season this year. Prescott checks in at 73, trailing only Pat Mahomes. Now, against non-playoff teams, he does not have a great QBR, but that's not the point. Because, well, the Buccaneers are a playoff team. So what do we expect from Dak Prescott tonight? Let's go out to Tampa and welcome in our Cowboy insider, Bobby Belt. Bob, how we doing, and what are you expecting from Dak Prescott tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm expecting, probably a 158.3 passer rating.
I like that.
All the touchdowns, and just a beatdown. No, I actually do, though, expect that he's going to come out here ready to play. And he's going to I don't think we're going to be talking tomorrow about, the struggles of Dak Prescott. I think he's going to come in here locked in and have a good game tonight.
Bobby, the Cowboy skill player that is going to have the best game, whether it's the running back, the tight end, the wide receiver.
It needs to be CeeDee Lamb. And I think that's been a pretty consistent bet over the last several weeks that he's going to be the skill guy that's going to have the best performance. So, look, I think that as good as CeeDee Lamb is, as much as he and Dak are clicking, that's what this playoff run is going to lean on. If they have trouble getting connected, if they have trouble making things work in the passing game between the two of them, then this playoff run will end pretty quickly. If it's on and it's clicking and they're, CeeDee Lamb's out there having 120-yard games and 9 catches and things like that, then they've got a chance to do some damage here in the postseason. And so the guy it needs to be a CeeDee Lamb, and that's who I would expect it would be, is that you'd get a pretty good performance from CeeDee Lamb, because that's just been the single most reliable week in and week out skill player, I think, since Dak Prescott returned to the lineup.
Trying another corner out there with Xavier Rhodes getting activated. What do you think Dan Quinn has in mind beyond just a personnel change to limit the damage of the big plays?
That's a good question. I think Rhodes definitely is part of that, just because of his size and the ability to match up well against some of these bigger receivers. And so I think that responding with size and physicality is going to be part of it. But look, it'll be interesting to see what they try to draw up in terms of generating pass rush. We saw in the last couple weeks of the season that they were doing some more like nickel blitzes and blitzing safeties and things like that. And so, anything to generate pass rush, anything to try and rattle Tom Brady, will be valued. But I mean, Tom Brady is a guy who likes to get the ball out really, really quickly. He led the NFL in time to throw, and he's always at the top of the league in that. He likes to get the ball out fast. He's not going to take a lot of sacks, and so any way that you win, it's got to be quick. It's got to be up the middle, and so that alone, if you can generate pass rush and disrupt Brady, that'll go a long way towards hopefully cutting down on some of these big pass plays. Over the last 5 weeks of the season, Dallas had the most 20-yard pass plays allowed in the NFL. And so they're not going to be able to go very far if that continues to be an issue here into the playoffs.
Would you travel Diggs with Evans?
They did that last year with some success. I believe he only gave up 1 catch for 10 yards. Mike Evans talked this week about how he didn't see as much of that in week 1 this year. But I think I actually might, with Xavier Rhodes and the fact that he doesn't run as well as he used to, I might try and just match up the size there and the physicality and try my luck with Diggs on somebody like Godwin. But that might be the matchup that I'm more intrigued by, would be potentially letting Rhodes get up there, press Evans, and play with some physicality.
You're happy with having both Van Der Esch and Biotish back. Who makes the biggest difference today?
Oh, good question. Biotish, I actually see him out here on the field right now. It looks like he has a little black wrap around the ankle there. it feels like an eternity since we last saw Leighton Vander Esch play. And so the struggles that we've seen at linebacker since he's been out has been something that's been really tough for the Cowboys to weather, I think. And so give me the Vander Esch impact, not just the Vander Esch impact, but the Vander Esch impact, tied with Hankins and what they may be able to do in the running game to, slow down a running game that really gave you a lot of problems in week one. I know they've struggled all this year, Tampa Bay has, but Tom Brady talked this week about how the running game getting going took a lot of pressure off of the passing game in week one, and it's something that they like to get going again. And so I think the impact of Vander Esch and Hankins together is a more sizable contribution. But no doubt about it, it's going to be good to have Tyler Biadasz back in the lineup.
Does Tyron Smith have it in him out there at right tackle to have a game so good that this Cowboys running game that was kicking butt with Terrence Steele and in there could show it up again tonight?
I mean, Tyron Smith obviously is a Hall of Famer, and we've seen him do great things over the years. I don't know that we've seen that from him since he got back, and so I think I'd have to say no until you do. Because I think what we've seen over these first couple weeks is that he's not been the same guy in the run game. And so, the biggest thing for me, I think, is that what this game comes down to and what this whole playoff run comes down to is the secondary's got to limit the chunk plays, and Dak has to be on top of his game, and Dak can't be turning the ball over. If they are able to get some benefit in the running game and Tyron Smith is able to contribute in run blocking and ease things up there, that's great. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think where their concerns lie are more with Dak turning the ball over, Dak playing on top of his game, and the secondary limiting big plays. If they can do that, then it may not matter as much if Tyron Smith's not, doing a great job in the run game.
You bring up Dak in the run game. What about Dak running? If the actual running game with the backs isn't helping, could we see an 8-carry game from Prescott? What kind of an impact could that have?
He mentioned this week that he's obviously open to taking those sorts of chances more recently, and that if it's there for him, he's going to take it. I believe there have been 13 games in his career where he's rushed for at least 35 yards, and they're 11-2. When Dak's getting things going on the run, on the ground, when he's threatening teams that way, it's a big boost. When you can threaten teams that way, it gives you just an added dimension to the offense and an added dimension to Dak as a weapon. So if you can generate that, if those opportunities are there and you can take advantage of them, absolutely take them.
Cowboys insider Bobby Belt with us here. He's live from Tampa as we get you set for Cowboys and Bucks right here on 105.3 The Fan. You mentioned CeeDee Lamb. Is he getting double-teamed a bunch? Don't we need one of these Hiltons or Gallups to step up in a big way?
I mean, you absolutely need Hilton and Gallup to step up and be impactful. Now, look, T.Y. Hilton obviously had a rough game along with the rest of the team on in the final game of the season against Washington, but I'm going to give him a little bit of grace because of the two games we saw before that where he had really big contributions, particularly on third down. The guy I need to step up and to play better than he's played this year is going to be Michael Gallup. That's who I think really needs to, play more like the guy we saw last year or the year before, and less so like, the guy that we've seen this year that struggled to get separation at times and struggled to finish catches in traffic. And so, I think a big step-up performance from Michael Gallup would do a lot to help this offense.
Bobby, Bones Fossil, they had some special teams gaffes in that Commanders game. Are you expecting anything these coaches on nationally televised big game kind of things like to run trick plays and things like that? You think they got anything in the playbook that we might see tonight?
I think it could be there, not just on special teams. I mean, that could be, I'm sure Kellen Moore's going to empty out the bag. It's playoff time. There's no holding anything back. Whatever you got in your bag of tricks that you've been holding on to, now's the time to bring it out. And so, I think it's standard to see some of that once you get playoffs, on all fronts, is to break out something that you haven't necessarily shown before. And so, yeah, maybe you see something unique on special teams, but definitely I think there's a good shot that we see stuff from Kellen Moore tonight that we haven't seen all year.
How worried are you about your sleep situation? You're going to get back in the middle of the night. You got to host a show tomorrow. Did you sleep enough today?
3:30, right? What time you get back? 3:30?
Yeah, we get back at like 3 in the morning, and I slept about 20-30 minutes this afternoon, which was a real mistake.
Not it.
It was a real mistake because I intentionally slept a very little bit last night, thinking it would make me exhausted enough to sleep this afternoon, and that didn't happen. So, I congratulations, you played yourself.
That's right.
And that's what I ended up doing. So I don't know. I'm guessing we'll land. I will probably drive back to the station and try and get in 1 90-minute REM sleep cycle, and then wake up and be up and at it for the 6 a.m. club tomorrow morning.
You're an absolute animal.
Was
Bob.
anybody complaining? Anybody knock on your door about you doing radio this morning in the hotel?
They didn't.
I didn't get any text. I didn't get any text messages from anybody that you're extremely loud.
I was really trying to be quiet. I was trying to keep it down. I was facing towards a window, not a wall. So I was trying to do my best not to mess with the acoustics. But I didn't hear any complaints. Nobody came up and said anything to me from, nobody said, like, man, you were really irritating and loud this morning. And if you didn't get any text messages, then I think we're okay.
Oh, no, we've gotten text messages about you before.
Yeah, that's why I said this time. I know we have.
Yeah.
I know we have. I have a voice that carries, as my mother used to say, which is a nice way of saying you are really loud.
Yeah, Bobby has to use his inside voice at all times, and you're on Eastern time, so that's like 4:30 this morning. You were waking everybody up with your loud voice. So
yeah, actually reverse that.
Reverse
Chi-Chi.
it.
It's an hour ahead. It's not an hour behind.
Wow. Okay,
So
I'm in my bag tonight. Boys.
Skip class that day.
Skip class. Yeah, skipped a lot. Bobby, how excited are you that you are not following Joe Buck, but you are his lead-in?
I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
This is what I do. I am the lead-in. I was the lead-in for Al Michaels a few weeks ago. Same thing now. I lay the foundation.
Yes, you do. Well, go lay a foundation for victory if you don't mind, Bob.
I'm on it.
All right, there he goes. Cowboys insider Bobby Belt right here on the official pregame show of America's team. Bobby was brought to you by 7-Eleven, by the way. Scan your 7-Eleven app at purchase for your chance to win tickets and other exclusive Cowboys prizes through 7 Rewards. No purchase necessary, subject to rules at 7-ElevenCowboysSweeps.com. And now Joe Buck joins us coming up next right here on The Fan.
This is the Dallas Cowboys pregame show.
Fade up and caught. Touchdown, Dallas.
Brought to you by
Bell Nunnally, attorneys and counselors. Goody Goody Liquor, your store for discovering fine wine, craft beer, and premium spirits. Find a store at goodygoody.com. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Play clock near one. Corner of the end zone. Lamb. One-handed try. He got it. Touchdown, Lamb. What a catch. What a throw. And the Cowboys back on top.
ESPN's Joe Buck joins us now on the official pregame show of America's team, getting you set for playoff time and kickoff here, Cowboys and Buccaneers. And Joe, greatly appreciate the time. And I'm curious, if I take you back to January 17th of 1992, the last time the Dallas Cowboys won a road playoff game, what was Joe Buck up to?
Man, I was 23. No, not yet 23. And probably somewhere in a college dorm watching my now broadcast partner on a sloppy day at Candlestick Park go up and down the field on the 49ers. So little did I know back then that I would spend 21 plus years with old number 8 by my side.
Joe, did you know you were just a couple of years from taking the sports play-by-play world by storm?
I did not. I did not know that was coming. I did not see any. I did not see any fortune tellers. I was, I guess, at the end of my second year with the Cardinals, and yeah, I mean, Fox Sports, if anybody's old enough to remember, just dropped out of the sky, and they jumped in and overpaid to get the NFC games in 1994, and they wanted a bunch of new young announcers, and I went out and auditioned and was standing at Soldier Field opening day 1994, not knowing what the hell I was doing, or definitely knowing that I was not qualified to be there, but faked it long enough until I made it, I guess.
Joe, going into this game, we're kind of in our show trying to figure out the Cowboys get Tyler Biadasz back at center. In any of your pregame conversations, do you have an idea how Cowboys might play their offensive line in this one? Is it going to be Tyler Smith at guard or Peters at tackle? Has anybody given you any little nuggets along the way to help you with that broadcast?
I feel like it's trending that way. They were not very definitive with us, but I think that's definitely on the table. And I think it says a lot about Tyler that he can handle bouncing like that. He's just a talented kid. And I said to McCarthy and to Dak when we talked to him that his name's never brought up for Rookie of the Year, but for a guy to play left tackle and do the job he did for a 12-win team, and they seemingly just didn't miss a beat when Tyron went down, and now they've got Tyron, as you guys all know better than I, out of right tackle. I think it's been a tremendous first year, and they get credit for that. The drafting has been sensational for the Cowboys, as you know, and he's the last in a long list of really good Pro Bowl players that they've added, even in the last, 6 years, since 2016. I think they've got 8 different Pro Bowl players that they've drafted. So that's a big part of this organization that's going right.
Joe, your career has spanned the Cowboys' drought, and you've seen up close, them not be able to get it done. Would you feel confident if you're a fan, this is your year? How confident would you be feeling going into just this game?
Yeah, at some point this thing's got to run out. I mean, just law of averages, but we've been there front and center when they've been a number 1 seed, and it hasn't worked out. I think Dak is ready to play a good game. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him to turn in a better outing than he had against San Francisco a year ago. I think there's pressure on McCarthy, despite what's said and has been said over the past couple of weeks. So, how do they quiet those nerves and how do they settle into this game? I think they're going to have their hands full with Tampa Bay. Tom Brady is not the kind of guy that's just going to sprinkle sunshine all around if he doesn't believe it. And he believes that his team is ready to take off. And that's obviously not good news for Dallas. I think Dallas can handle them, but this is a rested and healthy Tampa Bay team. So I think the Cowboys will get their best, and I think the Cowboys are going to have to play their best, even though they're a road favorite to walk out of here and end up in San Francisco next weekend.
Sounds like Tom was pretty confident in these meetings leading up to this game. Huh? Is there any storylines or nuggets that you got from meeting with these guys, these players and coaches, and lead up to this one?
Nothing. I think more of it was just affirmations of what we all kind of thought. I know Tom Brady wants Ryan Jensen to start in this game, his Pro Bowl center that has not been active all year and got hurt the second day of training camp, and that's obviously something that we'll be watching early. There's been no definitive word on that, and I think he kind of settles down their offensive line and brings some attitude, like Biotish can settle down the Cowboys' offensive line. So I thought Dak was confident. I think McCarthy's confident. Dan Quinn's got a great plan, the way he's kind of worked these defensive backs over the past 4 weeks, and he's been giving them all trial by fire, and we'll see a lot of Deron Bland on the outside in tonight's game, and he's been so good in the slot, and now he's going to have to prove himself on the biggest stage playing outside against either Godwin or Evans, and he'll have his hands full, no doubt.
Joe, the Cowboys just have not run the ball with any consistency, the last several weeks. Do you feel like it's more about the opponents that they play, the Tennessees, the Philadelphias, or is there something that you've learned that maybe that it's been a struggle for them?
Yeah, I mean, when it's happened over 5 games and it's happened since Terrence Steele went down, I mean, there's something there. This is not their best offensive line. This is their best offensive line is when Terrence Steele was healthy and playing right tackle. So, you've got Tyron Smith, who, and I've been around sports my entire life, to be an 8-time Pro Bowl player like Tyron and say, I'm willing to go over to the right side. A lot of athletes and a lot of future Hall of Famers, I've seen it in many sports, aren't willing to do that. And I think Tyron's proving, just how much he cares about this team by doing it. Guys don't want to get embarrassed if they can't handle it. So I think he's growing in that. But I think it's the offensive line. It's not Pollard. It's not Elliott. I think the offensive line, and that may be why they go with a different lineup tonight with their offensive line than they have been at any other time this year.
Will Tampa's returning players make a big difference for them?
Yeah, I mean, they have some big players that they've been able to rest, ironically enough. They win the division at under 500, but they got an extra week's worth of rest for Wirfs. They got the same for Donovan Smith. They got the same for Vita Vea, who is kind of a run game wrecker and now, is able to rush the passer unlike any other year that he's been in the league. Their secondary is healthy for the first time in a long time. So, yeah, I mean, these two teams were very excited to have the extra day of rest getting set for this Monday night game. So I think it'll be best on best, and we'll just have to see who ends up playing better.
Joe Buck with us here on The Fan. Have you given any thought to the idea that maybe possibly this you could be calling Tom Brady's final game?
Yeah, we talked about it, but I don't think you can let that dominate a game. I think it's something that you maybe touch on early, and if they lose, you touch on it going off the air. But if they do lose, the bigger story to me, because we don't know what Tom Brady's going to do. Talking to Tom Brady, I don't think Tom Brady genuinely knows what he's going to do. Then the bigger story will be the Dallas Cowboys getting a road win for the first time since I was climbing out of college and Troy Aikman was playing quarterback. So I think that'll be the big story going out if that's the way it unfolds. And Brady will be a footnote to that because you just can't put any definitive statements on what he's going to do. Nobody knows. And I honestly believe, I don't think he knows either.
Are you and Troy happy to be calling the Cowboys game this year?
Troy is. Troy is. How ironic that we're in the stadium where we were standing for the Bucks and the Eagles last year, and Troy made that comment, and now here we are. So I guess the squeaky wheel does get the grease. We get the Cowboys in the playoffs, and ESPN's thrilled about it, and so are Troy and I.
Certainly been a great undercard, if you will, all weekend long with the wild card round and lead up to tonight's main event. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, ESPN, Cowboys, and Bucks. Joe, thank you so much for giving us some time, and it's been a real treat for us.
Of course, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. There he goes. Cheers to Joe Buck on his way out, getting you set for Cowboys and Bucks here on the official pregame show of America's Team, brought to you by the Salvation Army, Love Beyond, and NFL Game Pass. With NFL Game Pass, you'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. 2 hours and 5 minutes to kick off. Let's go behind enemy lines. Live in Tampa Bay, we get their play-by-play man, Gene Deckeroff, joining us next right here on The Fan.
And now Brady going to work, trying to secure it 44th. Come from behind, win of the fourth quarter. Rashad White, the running back. Here's the snap. Brady dropping, looking. Brady throws. Caught ball. It's caught. Touchdown Tampa Bay. Rashad White. Rashad White. Touchdown Buccaneers. Fire the cannons. Bucs tie the game at 16. Brady with a dart. And Rashad White finishes.
A TD Tuesday favorite in the G-Bag Nation. We are just under 2 hours to kickoff on a playoff game day, Cowboys and Bucs. Let's go to Tampa, boys, and let's go behind enemy lines. We welcome in the man himself, the voice of the Buccaneers, Gene Deckeroff, ladies and gentlemen. Gene, it's playoff time. You got to be feeling like $1 million right now, and you have the GOAT, so you just walk into these games crotch first all the time, don't you?
Well, you know what? We haven't fired the cannons yet, so I'm not sure. But I do know that we have extra powder in those cannons on the pirate ship. So let's see how this plays out. This is a new thing for the Bucs. We have never played a Monday night playoff game, and I think that holds true for Dallas as well. But yeah, Monday Night Football, the only game in town that brings out the best in football, and I think it's going to bring out the best in both of these teams. The Bucs have, well, we have not played up to what we thought we could in 2022, and for one reason or another, it could be the offensive line. We've not been able to get the ground game going. We have 5 rushing touchdowns. I think Zeke has a game where he had 5 touchdowns by himself. I don't know. I'm making that up. But to put this in perspective, Greg and Brian, the Buccaneers in that 0-14 season, first in franchise history, 1976, we had 5 rushing touchdowns. 5 this year in a 17 games with a much better team. that team that went 0-14. It's got to be offensive line. The fact that we have injuries. We lost Ali Marpet, a Pro Bowl guard, lost him to retirement. Alex Capel, with free agent, went to Cincinnati, and they're a playoff team, and they look like a team that might make it back to a Super Bowl this year. And then Ryan Jensen goes down with an injury the second day of practice, unpadded practice, no contact, and he didn't have surgery. The knee is healed. He is active tonight. Whether he plays center or guard, we're not sure, but keep an eye on that first offensive snap and see if number 66 is snapping the football, or number 70, which would be Robert Hainsey. But one of those two will snap and the other will play left guard. And we are told, and I couldn't say that till I got to the stadium because everything else is speculation, but Ryan Jensen will play tonight.
With everybody coming back, could you see Tampa themselves getting back to a Super Bowl?
Well, that was 2020, and a lot of things happened good for the Buccaneers. We got swept that year by New Orleans. We did not win the division. We had to play on the road in every one of the playoff games, except for the Super Bowl that was played ironically at Raymond James Stadium, and that was the very first time a team had hosted in its home stadium a Super Bowl. And then what happens the next year? L.A. does it the next year. So it's not as unique now as it was in 2020. But, yeah, that was a different team. Tom Brady's first year. Remember, you had no fans in the stands, or limited fans, because of the COVID year. We broadcast, and I believe Brad and the Dallas Network broadcast remotely. We did not travel with the team. Dallas may have. I don't think so. But we broadcast every game from right here at Raymond James Stadium. We had the All-22 monitor that the NFL provided. We had the TV broadcast, and it was a unique season in more ways than one. But we did have a completely different team that won the Super Bowl, raised the Lombardi Trophy. I got a ring and had to pay taxes on it. but that's 2 Super Bowl championships. We're 2 for 2 in the Super Bowl. So I think the GOAT may have another Super Bowl left in him, and I wouldn't put anything past what Tom Brady can do. He has been a marvelous addition to this franchise. He is a great spokesman for the team. He's all business on and off the field, and yeah, I'd like to see the GOAT go back and win it. He says his favorite Super Bowl ring is always the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Gene, with Vita Vea back at tackle and stuff like that, it's got to be refreshing or feel good for the Buccaneers defensively to know that they have both tackles in place, 6-1 with the 2 guys in there inside. Has some of the struggles on defense this year been because of some of the injuries, what we've seen with the defensive tackles?
Well, I would say not necessarily tackle, but the biggest problem the Bucs have had is in pass rush, and we've got 45 sacks, but those sacks aren't coming from your outside linebacker. Vita Vea leads us in sacks with 6.5. That's very rare. In fact, it's you got to go back to the late 1990s, early 2000 when Warren Sapp played defensive tackle and led the team in sacks. But we lost Shaq Barrett. I think it was week 6. And we have really not had the outside pass rush that we need, and as a result, really good quarterbacks have had success against the Buccaneers. We're not taking the ball away like we did in that Super Bowl season. In fact, interceptions are very rare for the Buccaneers. We went 6 games without a takeover. A takeaway. 6 games without a takeaway by a professional football team. That's almost incredible to think about it. But they say turnovers come in bunches. We did get a couple against Carolina. Got a couple against Atlanta last week, but nowhere near the number of takeaways the Dallas Cowboys have. What have they led? Dallas, I think, has led the league 2 years in a row in takeaways. That Dan Quinn defense is something. I look at, they got Micah playing about 4 or 5 different positions. He's a threat to blitz from inside linebacker, outside linebacker. They may line him up at nose tackle. I don't know. But we just haven't had the pass rush that we had. We had JPP. I mean, Shaq Barrett. Those 2 guys combined, I think they were the top tandem in sacks in the National Football League. But we just don't have that. So I think Dak Prescott is very happy that we don't have JPP and Shaq Barrett breathing fire down his throat when he drops back to throw.
Now, Gene, I'm not personally super confident in the Cowboys tonight, but I'm trying to build optimism as the kickoff approaches. Where is Tampa most vulnerable?
Offense or defense? Offense, defense? Offensively, we can't run the football. That's where we're the most beatable.
They could
unless
week 1.
Unless playoff Lenny does what he did in week 1 against Dallas in AT&T. He rushed for 127 yards.
Yeah.
He hadn't come close to a 100-yard game since then. But then Rashad White is taking away a number of snaps. And so now I think Rashad maybe had a handful, 6-7 snaps in that game. Lenny was the major running back of that. But as far as defense goes, takeaways, lack of takeaways. I mean, this is a team that led the league Super Bowl year in takeaways. In fact, I believe I've got a note, we still lead, or we're second place in points off takeaways. But boy, that has taken a deep dive downward in this 2022 season. So those are the weakness in the running game on offense and weakness in the ability to take the football away and give the GOAT a short field. The GOAT's drives have had to go, 65, 75, 85 yards, and it's tough to do in this league, particularly in the playoffs. You got to get the takeaways. In that Super Bowl run, all 4 the wild card game, the divisional game, the NFC Championship game, all on the road, we took the ball away from opponents, got short field, scored points, and came away victorious. So that's the weakness. That's the way I see it. I mean, I'm not an analyst. I don't look at coaches' film every week, and I'm not in that locker room where the coaches could say, we're weak here because this guy's not doing this guy's not doing that. But, offensive line, running game offense, and then the inability for this team to take the ball away from opposing teams and get us a short field, get some quick points. I'd like to have a 98-yard fumble return for a touchdown tonight against Dallas, but that's only going to happen, once every generation?
Yeah, that's right. We got it last night in Cincinnati. So
no, it's not going to happen tonight. I didn't have the right. I didn't have the right mega money or whatever it's called. I bought the tickets, but I didn't win. The guy in Maine won that thing.
Gosh, it's always the guy in Maine.
That only happens. That 98 by a defensive lineman only happens about once every Mega Million winner.
Gene Deckeroff, voice of the Buccaneers, with us here on 105.3 The Fan. I like that you call him the GOAT. When he throws a touchdown pass, do you say the GOAT to Evans for the touchdown?
No, I don't. In fact, I very seldom call him the GOAT unless I'm doing an interview with another network, okay? I said TB12, Tom Brady. Brady throws his caught touchdown Tampa Bay. Fire the cannons, that's the way it goes.
Easy money, baby.
I very seldom call Tom Brady. In fact, here's an interesting point, fellas. Tom came in as a Buccaneer in the COVID year, and we were not allowed to be at camp, and we did not travel with the team. The second year, 2021, that was the Super Bowl year. 2021, we had COVID restrictions during preseason camp, so I did not attend preseason camp for that reason. This year, I'm going to meet Tom Brady for the first time in 3 years, and guess what? He began his 11-day sabbatical the day I reported to training camp. I have not shaken his hand yet.
Man.
I want to shake the hand of the GOAT,
Man, he's going to be out of town, and you guys will be back to being good just once a generation.
Well, yeah, we got, Blaine Gabbert as a backup, and then Kyle Trask is number 3. But, everybody would love to have Tom Brady as their quarterback. Just ask Bill Belichick.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, Gene, I got to ask you before we let you out of here. The voice of the Dallas Cowboys, Brad Sham, enjoys.
Brad, I see him right. He's right down here.
Okay, so now when he's at AT&T Stadium, they give him the works with the sushi at halftime, and I'm curious. We just heard Al Michaels is a guy who likes steak and shrimp at halftime in the booth. What is Gene Deckeroff? What's a spread for Gene Deckeroff at home? Okay, what's the spread looking like at halftime?
The pregame meal when I was trying to get skinny was a salad. Now a little salad, a little slice of meat at the carving station. That's pregame. At halftime, it's traditional. At halftime, it's traditional. I eat one hot dog, and that's all you can eat in 12 minutes. By the time you get that hot dog, put the mustard and onions on it, you're down to about 8 minutes. You got to chomp on that thing and get it finished so you can go on the air about a minute before kickoff of the second half. Yeah, it's a hot dog all the way. Hot dog with mustard.
With mustard.
Gene, was the food at Florida State better than the food at Tampa for your hot dog?
No, the food at Florida State was that's not the reason I retired, fellas. But the food was never really good. I mean, well, you can't knock a Chick-fil-A now, but I mean that was food, okay?
There you go.
And it was only a pregame meal. There was nothing at halftime except ice cream.
Which Cowboy worries the Bucs the most tonight?
I want to give a shout out to Tony Pollard. He's a scary guy when it comes to touching the football. I'm shouting that out because he played for Mike Norvell at Memphis.
Florida State.
Mike, yeah, you look around the league. Hey, the guy that kicked the winning field goal for the Jaguars the other night, he played for Mike Norvell at Memphis, and Tony Pollard, and then Micah Parsons obviously on defense. I know you've had some injuries the defense, but I have still not figured out the Dallas Cowboy defense. They got three linebackers and 6 or 7 defensive. I think they play 12 players on every defensive snap. But it's confusing, and that's why they lead the league in takeaways and interception. They got an unusual defense you don't see every day of the week, in my opinion. Then again, I'm not a coach, but I'd like to see 4 defensive backs, sometimes 5, but 6 is one too many, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm sure plenty of offenses have felt that way this year. Gene, this has been a real treat for us, sir. Thank you so much for giving us some time. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right, go. I got to say it, go Bucks. Have a great broadcast.
All right, thank you, Gene. There he goes behind enemy lines, brought to you by 7-Eleven. Speaking of fantastic hot dogs with mustard, are you kidding me? Scan your 7-Eleven app at purchase for your chance to win tickets and other exclusive Cowboys prizes through 7 Rewards. No purchase necessary, subject to rules at 7-ElevenCowboysSweeps.com. And now I look at the clock, and it's telling me it's Miller time, ladies and gentlemen, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And when it's Miller time, it's Babe Laufenberg time. We go back to Tampa and welcome in Mr. Babe. And happy playoff time to you, sir. How we feeling?
Feeling great. Playoff football, it's all the same, whether you coach it, announce it, play it. Well, not quite the same as playing it, but certainly you just feel a different excitement about this football game.
Babe, it's Gavin Dawson here. How you doing tonight, man?
Gavin, I could not be better. Could not be better.
Right on.
If I was any better, I'd be twins. Okay.
It is very exciting whenever you get to the playoffs and you have a chance to make a run. Let's start with the quarterback. What kind of a game do you expect from Dak tonight, coming off a tough one?
Well, I honestly don't know what to expect. And what's interesting is, we all know he's thrown an interception in 7 consecutive games this year. Last year, going into the San Francisco playoff game, he had not thrown an interception in 4 consecutive games, had not thrown an interception. And we saw how that turned out. So sometimes it's like a pitcher warming up in the bullpen, and he's like, man, I do not have it today. And then he goes out and throws a no-hitter. So no question, Dak is coming off, to me, his worst performance of his career. I don't think he ever threw the ball worse than he did against Washington. The key tonight for Kellen Moore, easier said than done, is to try to find some easy throws in there for Dak early on. I don't care if it's a smoke screen, little flip out to Zeke or Tony Pollard. Somehow you got to get him 3 for 3 starting out the game. I don't even care if it goes 3 for 3 for 4 yards. Let him complete some balls.
Babe Laufenberg with us here on the official pregame show of America's Team. Now, when you look at this offensive line here, Babe, you get Tyler Biadasz back. Is there any other shakeup you think that might be involved there?
Well, I mean, we're going to get Jason Peters at left tackle. We're going to get Tyler Smith at left guard. I'm not so sure I'm big on all that, to be honest with you. You'll see Connor McGovern utilized as a fullback like he had a couple of years ago when Connor Williams was here starting. But it's a lot of shakeup for the offensive line for my taste. But that's the way that's the way they finished the game last week, and I think they liked the way that looked. But we'll see.
Babe, you mentioned that, though. I kind of feel like this offensive line really hasn't been the same all year. It seems like we always talk about continuity, and I don't know if it's just the Cowboys and the injuries and stuff, but it just doesn't seem like a continuity. I mean, and you mentioned you don't like what this look is. I kind of worry about what's going on at guard, and maybe the thing with Tyler Smith and Vita Vea, maybe is that what they're thinking, like a power on power kind of a situation?
I mean, it could be, but I don't know that you do that for this one game. I don't know that you don't. There's a very, very famous story. Brian, you're probably old enough. The other guys aren't. Back in the day, the Raiders drafted Gene Upshaw because Kansas City, who was in their division, had a guy named Buck Buchanan.
Buck Buchanan, from Grambling,
that they could not handle. But that was in the day when, you were on the team this year and you'd be on the team in 10 years. Now, obviously, a lot more turnover on the raw. You got free agency. But I wouldn't think, but it's a possibility that they bring Tyler Smith, a little bigger, stronger guy in there to try to handle Vita Vea. I personally thought Connor McGovern has played pretty well.
Me too.
And I would have liked the continuity of Connor McGovern going back to his left guard spot and Tyler Smith at left offensive tackle. But again, I always say I defer to the coaches. They see these guys every day. They know what they want to do, and we'll see how it turns out.
Babe, if you're Tom Brady and you look across the line of scrimmage and you see Xavier Rhodes in a Cowboy uniform for the first time, is that a guy that's going to get picked on quite a bit tonight?
I think it's going to be enticing. Obviously, at 32 years old, Xavier Woods, who was a very good player, Pro Bowl player, but, you can't run like he used to, and I would think they're going to find out a little bit. The other thing is, I don't think Tom Brady's going to be afraid of throwing Trayvon Diggs' way. Matter of fact, the only touchdown Tampa Bay scored in that first week was Mike Evans over Trayvon Diggs. So I think they're going to go a little sluggo, a little slant and go. I think they'll test Trayvon deep early, just seeing, he loves to jump routes and say, hey, you want to jump this one? Sorry, we're going by you.
Babe, offensive line shaking up for Tampa as well. Multiple guys coming back. Is that a concern that better players are coming in, or how do you expect them to play after extended time off there with Wirfs and Smith and Jensen?
Yeah, I think Wirfs is going to be okay. He played in week 17. They sat him out last week, I think, just to heal his ankle a little bit. I think he'll be okay. He's a great player if he's healthy, and he's going to be healthier tonight than he was 2 weeks ago. The interesting thing to me, and I have not been able to get this information, Ryan Jensen, the center, obviously was activated today. He's been out since the second day of training camp with a knee injury. And I don't know how you jump from that, get a couple practices in, and start playing playoff football, but we could see that. Now, I'll say this too, Ryan Jensen, he brings a nastiness to it. So you'll see very early on, he's going to mix it up with somebody if he's out there starting.
Babe, in the week 1 matchup, it wasn't Tom Brady being great. It was Tampa's ability to run the football, and especially the perimeter runs. Do you go back to that, or do you think, well, they're not going to let us have these perimeter runs?
Well, Leonard Fournette had by far his best game of the season, had his only 100-yard game against the Cowboys in that game. And it was interesting because, doing the game, and if anybody was watching the game, you kept waiting. I said, okay, they ran it that first series, and now they're going to go back to throwing it, which they throw it more than any team in the NFL. And the second series came along, and they still kind of kept the run. And I said, okay, well, they got that out of their system. Now they're going to start throwing it. And they just kept running. And they had success, obviously. I think the key, fellas, is Tom Brady has to have like a 2 or 3 tablet day on the sidelines. If he does that, the Cowboys win. Meaning, how he takes that Surface tablet, just tosses it down, he's disgusted. So if we get Tom Brady to treat that tablet over there on the sideline the way Joey Bosa treated his helmet, Cowboys win.
I like that, babe. I'm going to be I'm circling that in the box score. How many tablets is Brady running through?
They should have that. Rushing yards, passing yards, Surface tablets destroyed.
Cussed out offensive linemen.
Yeah, there's
yes.
always going to be plenty of those. Now, when it comes to the game plan offensively for the Cowboys here, they haven't been able to run the ball overly well. Last year when they opened up the season in Tampa, they just said, yeah, we're not going to be able to run. We're not even really going to try it. They ran the ball pretty well versus them in week 1 of this year. Do you think they just come out slinging the thing, or do they want to try and get the ground game moving?
I think they try to run it a little. And Tampa this year has not been the Tampa of the previous 3 years stopping the run. I mean, they were right up at the top of the list. This year, they're about right in the middle of the pack in terms of stopping the run. And you're exactly right. That first game, Zeke Elliott had 52 yards on 10 carries. And the long run was 7, which meant he was hammering it for 4 and 5 and 6 every carry. They really got it going. Unfortunately for the Cowboys, score got a little prohibitive, turned into more of a passing game, but I would not be surprised to see them try to get the run game going again tonight.
Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Did you get a chance, because you're in Tampa, of course, and Troy's out there, did you get together for a little margarita and some chips and salsa?
We didn't. We both viewed it as a business trip, but I won't lie to you. He called me at the hotel before I'm leaving, and he's trying to pry me for information. And I said, don't they pay you enough money over there to have your information guys on your side? But actually, I'm looking at Troy. We'll say hello on the field, but we're on a business trip. He's on a business trip. We'll socialize at some point. But here's the best part, right, guys? He said, basically, what do you think? And I said, I have no idea. I said, we know the way these things, they kick it off and everything we think we know changes. I said, what do you think? And he said, I have no idea. So I always laugh at that. People want to, hey, what do you think the score will be? I'm like, I don't even know who's going to win, let alone give you a score. But
I was just about
to
ask you, what do you think?
No. And hey, the game kicks off and the game kind of presents itself, and they're all presented in kind of different ways, and there's different ways to win these, and you never know really until the game gets going, right? Hey, Cincinnati was outgained by 120 yards by Baltimore last night. They found a way to win. Different way. Get a defensive end going 98 yards with a fumble. That's one way. Jacksonville, they fell down 27-0. They come back and win. Don't recommend going down 27, but there's all sorts of ways to win the game, and you just got to figure out the way to do it. The one thing the Cowboys can't do, and this is pretty Captain Obvious stuff, but the Cowboys can't beat the Cowboys. Last year, they had 14 penalties against San Francisco in that playoff game. Mm-hmm. You're not going to win that game. You cannot have that happen. Now, if you watched, and I know everybody did, if you watched the 5 games previous to this one, these playoff games, they ain't calling any penalties, folks. No. You can mug a guy in the secondary, and the flag is not coming out.
Well, and let me ask you this, though, babe. Who does that as an advantage for that? Like, if Craig Wolfstadt and this crew is not going to call penalties, why not play press and just mug the heck and try and disrupt any kind of timing these guys have?
Well, and I think Tampa has the advantage there if, again, the officiating continues like it did the first 5 games. And as we all know, the playoffs, unlike the Cowboys-San Francisco game last year, they tend to eat the flags a little bit more. And Tampa, the way they play that match man coverage and they lock down, and the way they locked down in the first game, to me, that's advantage Tampa. Because they really roughed up the Cowboys in that first game. They roughed up the Cowboys receivers, contested every pass, shouldered them. And I just see more of that. And the other part of that is, I know it's been, they played 17 games since that game, right? Because they were in the opener. But there's a saying in fishing, right? When you're fly fishing, or you don't leave fish to find fish. Meaning, if I'm catching them in this hole, and so your buddy says, "Hey, let's go down the river and see what we can get there." It's like, no. Why are we leaving fish here to see if we can find fish? So Tampa Bay throttled this offense. Cowboys never got past the 31-yard line in that game. So why change anything you did in that first game against the Cowboys in week 1 just for the sake of change? I'm going to make sure they can beat what we did to them in the first game, because they didn't figure it out for 60 minutes in that first game. Then I adjust if I'm Tampa Bay from there.
There you go. That's beautiful. We appreciate it, babe. Thank you so much. Enjoy the game tonight.
Okay, thank you, guys. Enjoy it. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Babe Laufenberg, 1/3 of the broadcast team on the Dallas Cowboys radio network. And another addition to that team, of course, Christy Scales, Cowboys sideline reporter. As we're about 90 minutes to kick off, let's get the scoop with Christy next right here on The Fan. out there and in front of our Dallas Cowboys. They have an opportunity to win a road playoff game for the first time in 30-plus years, take down Tom Brady for the first time ever, but they've never collided in the playoffs. Is tonight the night? Some would say yes, some being Brian Broaddus. Absolutely, we'll get to his prediction a little bit later on in the program, but right now, brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We welcome in the legendary sideline reporter for the Dallas Cowboys radio network. She is Christy Scales, and she is live in Tampa, Florida right now. Christy, how we doing?
We're doing great. Boy, you can really feel the energy, and even just from the at the team hotel and boarding the buses, it felt like the 1990s glory days again in terms of just the crowd, and then getting off the buses here at the stadium, and some of the fans around the perimeter are literally squealing as they see Dak Prescott get off the bus. So it's fun. It feels like a throwback to almost 30 years ago. Can't believe it's been that long since it's a playoff road game, but you kind of get that vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. It is that vibe. And right now, as we inch closer and closer to kickoff, I can feel it inside myself right now. The nerves, like everything, the excitement's all there. And there's so much at stake for tonight when you think about, of course, just tonight and these playoffs, but big picture and legacies and so many interesting things that can happen after a game like tonight, Christy. But as we get down to the nitty-gritty, so to speak, what are we looking at from an inactive standpoint? Anything jumping out at you?
Yeah, a couple of surprises because two of the defensive tackles that have been part of the rotation, they're both down tonight. Quentin Bohanna and Neville Gallimore both down. And so what they're doing is going with 4 bigs and 4 ends along the defensive line. And one of the bigs is now Chauncey Golston, even though he's tall and lean and looks more like a defensive end. We know that in the game last week, they gave him more work on the inside and say that, he's a very instinctive player, even though he doesn't have that much experience on the inside. He is going to be alongside Oso Odighizuwa and Carlos Watkins, and then of course Jonathan Hankins is now back after spending the last month on injured reserve with that pectoral injury. But it'll be Hankins, Odighizuwa, Watkins, and Golston on the inside. The other thing that really caught my attention is we've been wondering what's going to happen at cornerback tonight. Figuring that Xavier Rhodes, who was elevated from the practice squad yesterday, that yes, I knew that he'd be in as part of the rotation on the outside opposite Trayvon Diggs. I wasn't expecting Nashawn Wright to be inactive tonight. So what you're going to have is Deron Bland on the outside. He'll move inside when he needs to in nickel, so look for Xavier Rhodes to come in and play outside. But also, you're going to see more of a rotation on the inside. There'll be times where you have Deron Bland stay outside, and you're going to see more, even more than you saw during the season, of Jaron Kearse and even Israel Mukuamu playing some in the slot. And then here's another surprise, a guy that is normally on the inactive list, but the rookie safety Marquise Bell, he is active tonight. Why is that? Now, he's not going to play in the slot. He's going to be more, back safety. But they need him to play special teams because you don't have Nashawn Wright. He's inactive. He's a core special teams guy. And then with Mukuamu playing more defensive snaps, he's going to play less special teams. So those really caught my eye among the inactives, having both Bohanna and Gallimore down, having Nashawn Wright down, and of course Trayvon Mullen, who got some work at cornerback last week, being ill and not being able to play. He is inactive as well.
Christy, I don't know if that's great when you're playing against Tom Brady to have that many moving parts. I mean, it's a little, unless Dan Quinn is going to come into this game with 2 different game plans, that he might have a first half game plan and then a second half game plan, and not let Brady adjust to him as he's going along. That maybe with all these moving parts these guys, and I kind of like what they're doing at defensive tackle, to be honest with you, because I think Golston, Osa, those guys played well against the Commanders last week. Maybe you could get those guys on a little bit of a good run.
I think that was the value of last week. I know that the fans are really down, and the organization is the way that game, they really laid an egg last week, but that kind of evaluation on a guy like Golston was important. And so, one thing, I was having a real interesting conversation with Anthony Brown, who he's here, the veteran, he's obviously on injured reserve with that Achilles, but talking to him, he was saying that it's so important, and it's something that I was talking with even the linebackers this week. What's so important in coverage against a guy like Tom Brady, the way that he can manipulate you with his eyes, and the importance of staying disciplined and staying on your man and not sneaking looks back at the quarterback, or not letting Tom move you off your guy because he'll just throw it past your ear hole, right? Hit the receiver in stride. But, Anthony Brown was saying that, especially last year, the game here, the opener of the 2021 season, he thought that happened too many times. The other thing I was talking with Anthony Brown about is Deron Bland, as I mentioned, how he plays on the outside but will move inside in the slot. And that's something that Anthony Brown has done throughout his career, the ability to play both inside and outside. Jordan Lewis, mainly was the nickel corner before he got hurt. But Anthony's like, the fans and media just got to be able to appreciate how difficult it is to move between those two positions. And for a guy like Deron Bland, who's just a rookie, to do it so well and be such an important player in this matchup against Tom Brady and playing his first playoff game, he's really excited to see what Deron does on the field today. One more thing about the coverage today, I am expecting Trayvon Diggs to travel with Mike Evans. So it's going to be real. And now he did it last year here, and he did do it mostly, not exclusively, but mostly in the season opener back in September. But look for that as a repeat from last year. Look for Trayvon to travel with Mike.
Christy, this is one of the few stadiums that, I absolutely love the grass field at this place. I know they played a bowl game here, but that seemed like a long time ago. Everything good, conditions-wise, weather-wise and stuff for your football team tonight.
Weather-wise, terrific. 60 degrees right now. It's going to be about 52 probably by the time we end the game. But as for the grass field, it looks real pretty, and they have resodded between the hashes, but the numerals into the boundary, not good, guys.
Oh, okay.
Very patchy. Looks like Broadus and his family have been on the golf course. There are lots of divots out there already early in this pregame, and honestly, it's quite slippery, I'm told, outside the numerals. So I know that Tampa has a pretty good reputation with this grass.
They do, yeah.
But it and I think it's, hopefully it holds up between the hashes. As I say, they've resodded, and that pirate, the logo looks beautiful at midfield. But man, outside the numbers, already lots of divots, and I hope that footing is not an issue, but it's pretty slippery, and there are a lot of divots already.
And Christy, before we let you get out of here, though, I asked Babe about the offensive line, and he was saying that Peters, left tackle, Tyler Smith, left guard. Any more that you can add on to that? Any more reasoning why, or that we can get from?
Well, that's why you had Peters taking all the snaps in the season finale last week in Washington. But yeah, Peters at left tackle and Tyler Smith at left guard. Of course, Tyler Biotis returning at center. So that means that Connor McGovern is your backup at center and guard.
Wow. Okay. Very good. Thank you for the scoop as always, Christy. We appreciate it. And we'll catch up with you next hour.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, better lives. Papa John's, the official pizza of your Dallas Cowboys. Brought us. There is so much to be had tonight, so much at stake, the legacies, like all of this, the build-up right now. Like, how are you feeling? Because I'm starting to, like, the fan is coming out of me. I'm like, we're almost 60 minutes to kick off here. I'm feeling great right now.
No, and that's, you're part of the playoffs. All the eyes are on you right now, and it's just about the players finding a way to go out there and make this thing happen tonight for you.
Fantastic. Cowboys and Buccaneers, just over 60 minutes to kick off right here on the official pregame party. And the party continues with Jane Slater and so much more. We continue to break it down next right here on The Fan.
The Dallas Cowboys Radio Network is on the air.
Touchdown, Cowboys!
With Brad Sham, Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales, Eric Chiafalo, and Brian Broaddus. Brought to you by
AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven in stripes. Proud partners of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com. Trusted by millions. Trusted by America's team. And by the University of North Texas. Proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Also brought to you by
Bell Nunnally, attorneys and counselors. Goody Goody Liquor, your store for discovering fine wine, craft beer, and premium spirits. Find a store at goodygoody.com. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Game.
Yes.
So hopefully, we can see that.
I wish
again.
I could say the same.
Yeah. This is not going to be difficult. It will not be difficult. This is going to be difficult, I think, for both teams. I think there's a lot of questions. It's a matter of, we've kind of all week long talked about the warts of both teams. And I mean, the things that you struggle with. And, you're not probably completely confident of Dallas playing pass defense, Dallas getting a pass rush, Dallas doing this, Dallas doing that. But, Tampa Bay, I mentioned, they've had some bad losses this year too. They've lost to some bad quarterbacks along the way, and you could call it injuries, you call it whatever. This team didn't score a whole hell of a lot of points. Now, here, watch them tonight go out and light Dallas up.
No, I don't want to see that.
But that's the thing about with the Cowboys have been able to score some points. And, I go back to a game that they played against Philadelphia where they got the 4 turnovers. Yeah, it was a close game. You had to make a 4th down stop at the end. But you scored points against a really good defense, against a team that was trying to win the game. When you look at the front 7 and you look at the secondary and, all those things, that's kind of the team you would hope that you would see tonight, with the Cowboys. You hope that, they could find a way to when those 3rd downs, not make themselves get into some bad down and distance situations, but don't make it a struggle tonight. Find a way, Kellen Moore, get some really nice solid play calls. We were talking with Christy earlier about it, about Dan Quinn. He's got so many of these players that he's dressed right now that he's going to rely on. I do. And just talking to people around the league, when you play against a guy like Brady, and I mentioned it to her, you almost have to have 2 game plans. You have to have that first half game plan and a second half game plan. Maybe you hold some back that you're not going to show them until, the second half when you really, really need a stop, So if Dan Quinn can get his defense in some rhythm and, Kellen Moore can get his offense in some rhythm, this team's capable of doing very, very well in this game. It's just a matter of kind of getting all that going the right direction.
All right, we continue the pregame here, brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And we just got word about the offensive line for the Cowboys going to look a little bit different tonight. Tyler Biadasz comes in at center, but no McGovern at left guard. It's going to be the rookie Tyler Smith holding on to that spot. And then the 40-plus-year-old vet, Jason Peters, is going to be manning the left tackle, and then you'll have Zach Martin at right guard and right tackle is Tyron Smith. What do you make of that?
Well, you could be, we had Gene Deckerhoff off earlier. He was on with us, and the thing with Gene was talking about is they didn't have a lot of pass rush. That seems to be a problem. They get the pass rush from the middle of their defense. They get that push. Are they going to, what kind of pressure are they going to get from the outside? So all of a sudden, to me, I look at Jason Peters as a much better pass blocker than I do a run blocker. So is this tip in the hand that they feel like that they can pick up everybody across the front and throw the football against this Tampa secondary? I feel like, they're going to have to run, but how much are they going to have to run? If there's no real pass rusher that scares them in this game, then maybe we'll see them throw the ball in the secondary, or at least, protect the best they can and then see if they can win on the outside. A lot of this depends on how the officials call this game. If there's a lot of holding and grabbing and all that, but they're not calling it, they're calling it evenly for both teams that way, it could be an advantage for Tampa because they'll clutch you up. And, Dallas, I think with some veterans at corner, they'll clutch you up too. So if these officials are going to let you play, maybe Dallas's game plan is not so much run the football, because I don't think that's Jason Peters' strength, especially trying to get those inside cutoff blocks and then get anything out on the edge. Maybe they're trying to secure that, crack toss and kind of get him in a mode where he can get out in space. But, the last couple of times they tried it last week against the Commanders, it wasn't one of their better running plays.
Interesting. So maybe Peters being the left tackle is a sign that the Cowboys will come out throwing the ball a little bit more tonight. You get the strength on the interior with Tyler Smith, which is nice when you have Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea on the interior of that defensive line, and those guys are big mammoths. You need all the strength possible. And then you mentioned the best way they get their pass rush, those two big ends, but also blitzing those linebackers. Right there in the A gap, and that is a way that they have to manufacture some pressure because they don't have guys like Shaq Barrett anymore on the edge of that defense, or Jason Pierre-Paul. So that's going to be a huge chess match. And as we go inside the numbers here, brought to you by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's, and I want to look at the other side here, Cowboys, and how much they can pressure Tom Brady and this Buccaneers passing game, because the Bucs ranked 24th in pass block win rate this season. Brady was near the bottom of the league in multiple categories against pressure this year. 29th in QBR, 31st in yards per attempt, and he threw the NFL's third most interceptions in those situations with 6. We know this all about Brady's career. You get pressure on him, he's not the same quarterback, especially when it's the interior pressure. Are we confident this Cowboys pass rush, Micah Parsons and company, can get this thing rolling?
Yeah, that's why you've got guys like Osa, and that's why you have Golston and those guys dressed. And, last time that these two teams met, it really was, Bohanna and guys like that. The big body guy that you're going with is going to be Hankins. And then now it's going to be about, okay, can we have faster, quicker, up the field players inside with and Golston's got some length. So what'll happen is if you don't get their hands up, try and deflect some balls and stuff like that in the middle of that pocket. But I think what the Cowboys are doing is they're trying to attack that middle and trying to find a way to affect Brady's eye level in this game.
And you are, if you're Dan Quinn, you're going bump and run, and you're mugging these receivers.
Yeah, if the officials, to me, I would much rather give up a 5-yard defensive holding penalty than I would find a way to, have some of these huge plays where all of a sudden you get double moves when you're playing off. That's the thing. I think Babe is right about this. Babe Laufenberg, you're going to see some double move stuff. If they play off coverage, you're going to see some the slant go stuff. You're going to see, some wheel routes. You're going to see things that are going to be some vertical routes. But to me, I'm getting up on these guys, and the one thing that could throw Brady off is make him throw as many contested balls as you can. Make these receivers fight. I've seen games with the Buccaneers where these receivers, Evans and Godwin and those guys, when it's contested plays, haven't made as many catches. So I'm not giving them any free access to catch the ball in routes. I'm going to make every ball a contested ball if I can.
And Xavier Rhodes is going to get a lot of run today, first action
absolutely.
As a Cowboy.
Yeah, he will. And
veteran corner, a little bit slow.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's, the length, the fight, the toughness, all those are positive. All those are things why Dan Quinn would like to have him on the field and will have him on the field. We learned today through Christie that Nahshon Wright, he's inactive. So, they are really, they're putting their eggs in this veteran basket to see if they can it can figure out something going on at that left cornerback spot.
Yes, and they got a lot of stuff going on the offensive line as well that we will continue to address and look at here as we keep breaking down this matchup. 65 minutes to kickoff. Let's get you tonight's Coach's Corner, the one-on-one with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, live from Tampa with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. That is coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. kickoff, ladies and gentlemen, and that means it's time to go live to Tampa, where we have tonight's Coach's Corner. It is the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. Brad Sham, take it away.
Fellas, thank you very much, and we welcome in Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, no stranger to this postseason business. We've asked a number of your players this week what's their perspective on what's different about the playoffs. Usually they say, well, it's one and done. Thank you. We know that. You've got a different, longer, broader perspective. What's different about it for you?
The energy. The energy is always good, on Sundays, don't get me wrong. But, just sitting there this weekend, I was inspired by watching Baltimore play last night. It just jumps off the TV to you, and it was frankly something I talked about today in the team meeting. So there's nothing like playoff energy and excitement and the juice that goes into every play, and how important the finish of every play is. Because, there's big plays in these games. There's approximately going to be 32 to 34 big play opportunities in this game. But when you see, the momentum plays, just using Baltimore-Cincinnati game, you got a play that creates a 14-point swing. And so it's in that playoff football excitement and just in how you just keep going for it. And, so far 4 of the 5 games have come down to the last series. And I feel comfortable that this team is over-prepared for end-of-the-game situations just from our commitment to it. So I just love the way our guys are dialed in, but I would say clearly the excitement, Brad.
Now, at what point for young players especially do you notice that a playoff game goes from more intense, more focused to, oh, wait, we're playing a football game. We've played a lot of football games this year.
Oh, yeah, that part's never lost. Yeah, no doubt. It's football, and it's important for everybody to stay in their routine, stay in their headspace, and but it's just about having your emotional battery fully charged. It's about having your mental battery, your focus, and fully charged. And then physically, we've had 8 days to prepare for this, so I know we're in great shape, physically. So it's just really, something that you strive for each and every week. So that part's very similar. But we know what this game's about. We've been guaranteed 4 quarters, and we want to come out and start fast and just make sure that our production and the efficiency of the things we've been doing all year, that we display them here tonight.
We know now, you discussed it a little bit about the baby pictures, the guys who were born the last time the Cowboys won a road playoff game. So I'm curious whether that was designed to tell them how long it's been since the Cowboys have won a playoff game on the road, or to create a different perspective that you can't control what happened when you weren't alive.
To be honest with you, Brad, it was more of a Monday, day one media obligation perspective of, hey, you may get this question, and just the reality was, that's what was really driving. I wasn't using it for any type of motivation. There was nothing behind it. It was just the facts of the matter is, that's not our circus, that's not our responsibility, and we just want to make sure we keep our focus tight and on preparing to beat the Buccaneers, and I think our players have done a good job of that.
Teams are very different than week one, as you would expect, as you would hope. What concerns do you have about their team different than you did in week one?
Well, I think just, I don't say concerns, I think just things you identify with. Number one, Jensen's back at center, just that combination. So just really getting identified of exactly how they're going to line up, and frankly, make sure we're identifying on top of how they react to how we're lining up. Because, it's just like anything. Both teams have had 8 days to prepare for this game. So you're going to see some new wrinkles tonight, I'm sure, on both sides of the balls, or both teams. So that's the reality of it. Yeah, I don't have any concerns.
You can't. The players can get their energy out by going out there and run around and play. You can't do that. The wrinkles, is that how you do it? Put stuff in during the week and then see if it works out on game day?
No, I'm more about trusting your process and things that we put in. I'm not a big fan of trying out plays. I'm not a copycat guy. I think that's really what February, March, April, May is for. You got to build your menus strong. and with a lot of depth. Make sure your conceptual training is intact and well repped. So when you get, because we want to play football tonight. Like I told them, I said there's no time for evaluation tonight. This is about elimination. It's about eliminating the Buccaneers.
One thing that's different in playoff football is the officiating crews. You spend all year paying attention to every guy in the crew. Welcome to all-star officiating crews. How do you feel about those, and how does it change the way you approach the game?
Well, the good thing is the statistical analysis. You just throw that right out the window because it doesn't work, because you don't have, you got guys that haven't worked together. So I think the biggest thing is communication. These guys they've earned this opportunity too. So this is their playoff, and trust me, they want to do a good job. And I just like I tell our players, and I told them again today, just make sure we're communicating, be proactive, talk to these guys, and you got to work together. And that definitely. That works a lot better than screaming and not yelling, because that doesn't work. I've tried it.
Both ways. Last one, I heard a lot of guys say during the week with your players, they really thought you had a great week of practice. Do you evaluate it that way?
Yeah, definitely. I just think like anything, Wednesday was the communication was, for an install day, was really good, and then Thursday still is your final install, as far as your third down, red zone, and all the things that go in a 2-minute. And I thought we had a really good practice, but I thought really the best thing we did was our yesterday practice. Our launch Saturday practice was almost to the T. As far as the amount of work, the volume. It was, we have a score of 200 that we try to hit. We were 201, and we're done 10 minutes early, so that tells you about the tempo, the pace operation, mindset. Things are quick, and the substitutions, all that was in line. So we are ready to go, Brad. I can promise you that.
Okay, have fun, and I'm for doing another one of these next week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
All right, thanks, Mike. And fellas, back to you.
Thank you very much, Brad Sham. Tonight's Coach's Corner brought to you by Ford. Ford is the best in Texas. And Lincoln, the official luxury vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys. True luxury that transports you. To experience the power of sanctuary for yourself and see the full Lincoln lineup, head to your local Lincoln retailer or visit Lincoln.com. Now, you just heard Brad asking Coach McCarthy about the refereeing situation, the All-Star Cruise. And it is Craig Rolstad's All-Star crew tonight. He is the head man. He is the referee of the evening. And the Dallas Cowboys, how about this, Broadus? 8-0 with Rolstad refereeing since 2016. No ref in rotation for the playoffs has been better for the Cowboys than Rolstad. So that is something that's encouraging, especially when you mentioned to me earlier that this Cowboys pass rush, Micah Parsons and company, has not drawn a holding call. They have not drawn a flag for holding since the Green Bay game in Week 10. That's as far back as you have to go to get a Cowboy holding call. There's no way that is legitimate in terms of like Micah Parsons being held all the time. But the Cowboys can't seem to get a call. Maybe tonight they will.
Maybe they will. And that's the thing with the All-Star crew. There's a couple of things you look at. Generally, the umpire stays with the head official. So, Wolstad's, his umpire will be with him. So we'll see if they can get a holding call or two out of that. They usually don't mix that part of it up. The other thing you need to keep an eye on, and I mentioned this really all week. Well, I shouldn't say all week. Thursday is when I started, when we were breaking down the officials. The one thing that he can control is roughing the passer. That is a head official's call. So he's responsible for protecting the quarterbacks in this game. And Craig Wolstad is one of the lowest in the league when it comes to roughing the passer penalty.
Hello. Let's hit Brady all night then, Broadus.
So, yeah. Now, your quarterback might get hit, and their quarterback might get hit too. So just kind of be aware of that. But I think one of the keys to this game is how many times, with Tampa wearing these white jerseys, if you see grass stains on the back of that Tom Brady jersey, that's usually a great sign for whoever's playing him.
What about key to the game, Dak Prescott using his legs?
I like it. There was a time early in this game in the first game where they ran an option they brought Turpin in the game and they ran a speed option.
Oh, and Dak kept it.
Got
the first, right?
Got the first down, ran for about 8-9 yards and got a first down. So yeah, this is one of those things. It's it's lose and go home. So.
Lay it all out there,
I know Mike was talking about, well, I don't like putting in this, that, and the other, but No, you've got to empty the bucket as far as trying to get a win here on the road.
I love it. We're about 50 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. It is playoff time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get off this road playoff losing streak. Let's get off the Brady losing streak. We're 0-0 versus Brady in the playoffs, and we're about to be 1-0. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome in NFL Network's Jane Slater coming up next right here. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Heart of Texas. Texaco, unbeatable mileage to get you to unbeatable tailgating. Fill up with Texaco with Techron. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com, trusted by millions, trusted by America's team. And by Gold Medal Pools, official pool service provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
Uh-oh. We will get Jane back on the horn here momentarily, as she is, I believe, inside the booth, Raymond James Stadium. Probably Brad
probably
Sheehan
down on the
peeking
field.
over her shoulder. Is she down on the field, perhaps?
Probably down on the field doing some stuff. I mean, probably Christy probably handed her that headset.
All right, we'll try it again.
Yeah.
Jane Slater joining us now on the official pregame show of America's Team. Jane, how we doing?
I'm doing good. I heard the first question, and the answer is I set up a cot, and it got a little chilly overnight. But, yeah, I mean, I've been here since early Saturday, and it was really cold yesterday. The good news is it's warmed up a little bit, but this is one of my favorite matchups to come to. If you're at home and you're listening to this or you're in your cars, the atmosphere is amazing. I mean, it always, when we were here, 2 years ago, it felt like a playoff experience, especially when that game was close, and tonight it feels the same. It's really electric, and we've still got, 42 minutes to go?
Jane, how do they slay the Giant today? What is, I know you've talked about it probably all day, but what's the one thing your Dallas Cowboys have to do to slay this one?
I think they have to limit the big plays, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. We felt sort of this quiet confidence about that position opposite Trayvon Diggs all week, and I think it was probably one of the worst kept secrets that Xavier Rhodes was going to come up from the practice squad. That happened this afternoon around 4. So it sounds like they feel really, really good there about what they're getting at that position, and they're going to need it because I think we can expect probably Trayvon Diggs to be traveling with Mike Evans. Tell me if I'm wrong, Brian. And
no, you're
Chris
good.
Godwin.
All good.
You're gonna need a guy like Xavier Rhodes, and I covered Minnesota a little bit at the NFL Network as well, a couple of games, and all roads closed, I think, is what they're sort of hoping for tonight in terms of limiting him. And, the other thing is run defense. Leonard Fournette hasn't really had a big year, but his best game was against the Cowboys in week 1. Getting back Jonathan Hankins, Leighton Vander Esch, I think that's huge.
NFL Network's Jane Slater with us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys, getting you set for Cowboys and Bucks. Now, Jane, as you've met with some of these players and been around both these teams, what's the nugget or storyline that you're most interested in regards to this one?
I think it's offensive line for both these teams. I mean, Tom Brady hasn't had a lot of help there, lots of injuries. I was talking to one of the guys at the PR staff, Sarah Walsh, my colleague's been covering the Bucks. He said, we shouldn't have really played some of our starters last week because we got 2 injured in the limited series they were in. So they sort of have dealt with the same issues the Cowboys have. I thought what was great tonight was learning that Jason Peters is getting a start at left tackle. This will be a second start, but what it says to you is they're fortifying that line for Dak Prescott. They're not going to shy away from the passing game. And you've got a guy like Jason Peters. This will now be his 7th postseason appearance. I just think that's huge for Dak because, Brian, I've listened to you on the show this week. I think there's been times this year where it hasn't really felt like Dak has trusted his protection up front.
No.
And so I think having a guy like Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, everyone I've talked to, I said, Tyler Biadasz, is he really that big of a deal? They said, absolutely. We don't think of him like a Travis Frederick, but it's the communication. And even, talking to Ezekiel Elliott last week when I said, why wasn't the run game getting going? He said it was because these defensive shifts at the last minute and the offensive line, when you're moving 3 different guys there, and he didn't call out anyone, but he said, it's been happening to us at different times this season. Tampa Bay will absolutely do it, but they shift at the last minute, and it was really hard for the offensive line and the offense to sort of adjust to that. And I think this will at least address that a little bit, particularly when you got guys like Devin White and what's his face?
Levante David.
The other linebacker.
Levante David.
Yeah,
I've said it all day and all yesterday. You think I would get it straight. But
you're good.
As it was explained to me, those 2 guys are so aggressive, but they've sort of been tricking them. Last week with Washington, they made you think they were going in one gap, and then they go to the other at the last minute. So they are keenly aware of that. They're zeroed in on it, but I think just having a guy on the offensive line like Jason Peters really helps you out.
Jane, you're close with Dak Prescott. I mean, he likes you. I know he does. He trusts you and all that. Are we the word like legacy games and stuff like that get thrown around at this time of year? Is this that type of game for Dak in having to go win one of these and get people off his back about the playoffs?
Tony Romo dealt with Dallas. Remember, you're only judged in Dallas with your success in the postseason, and right now his record is 1-3. He's got 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and the only way you write that is to have success in the postseason. I mean, the reason why we talk about Tom Brady the way we do is he's 35-12 in the postseason, and so, there were times at some of these games in the locker room, Dak seemed as shocked as maybe the fans that he was dealing some of these struggles. But he's always the type of guy, I feel like, that rises to the occasion. I had to laugh. I was down there at the waterfront, having a quick bite to eat between the morning show and the afternoon shows. And Dak and Zeke and a couple of the players would come out on their balcony because they were staying at the hotel right downtown. And the Tampa fans were just heckling him. One just kept bringing up the interceptions. I think Dak loves that. The more that Dak has heard it this week, he says he doesn't pay attention, social media or whatever, but these guys are paying attention. They know what's being said. And I think he's taken it to heart, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see him have one of his bigger games tonight.
Beautiful. Jane, before we let you out of here, what is the Cowboy fan looking like out there? Is it popping with some blue, or is this a full Bucs crowd?
There's a lot of Cowboys fans here. There really are. It's amazing. And they were all over downtown. Of course, they got so fired up for the bit that is Michael Irvin and Stephen A. Smith. But I've got a ton of friends that are here from Dallas and Austin that traveled for this game. Because as much as we haven't even talked about this could be Tom Brady's last game.
Sure.
It may be his last game with the Bucs. And I had to laugh. Micah Parsons, before we go, he had told me in the offseason, I did a sit down with him. We were talking about Tom Brady. And he said he had hoped that the first game of the season was on grass because all he wanted was a jersey with grass stains on it from Tom Brady. Like, that would be truly iconic for the man cave. And, of course, he didn't get that. Well, today could be his opportunity to do that. We'll see if he gets it done or if Tom Brady brushes him off the way that Aaron Rodgers did that poor rookie. Remember when he went up to him and he's like, nah, man, we're good. I imagine that Tom would bless Micah Parsons with something like that if he was able to get to him.
Absolutely. Parsons has earned that to this point. Jane, we greatly appreciate the time as always. Enjoying the game and get back home safely.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes. NFL Network's Jane Slater right here on the official pregame show of America's team. Micah Parsons due to have a monster performance tonight. Just had his baby girl 2 days ago. He tweeted out 7.1 ounces. Thank you, God, for blessing me with the most beautiful baby girl. #GirlDad. So Micah playing for a little bit more. The dad's strength heightens even more inside of Micah Parsons. He's going to dominate Donovan Smith tonight, who is a huge liability as a tackle for the Bucs. Fourth most penalized tackle in the sport. That is Donovan Smith, and Micah Parsons, I imagine, is going to have his way with them tonight. It's going to be absolutely outstanding. Now, right now, we head back to Tampa. We go into the owner's box. Welcome in. It is Jerry Jones and Christy Scales standing by. Take it away, Christy.
And here we are. We are on the 50-yard line, and Jerry, it's Monday night, prime time. It's going against Tom Brady. You couldn't have scripted this any better. I know you had this in mind all along,
Well, I'll tell you. I've been kind of noticing the commentary all day long, and you do get your share of it when you're on Martin Luther King Day. Everybody's at home in general, but it's good. At the end of the day, though, I heard it so many times that it's got to be done right here in the next 3 hours, and our guys have got to be ready to go. Not only do we have to do a great job against Brady, but Dak has got to really carry this thing, and I think well.
And how do you see it in terms of establishing the run? Because I know that's always a quarterback's best friend, yet the run game hasn't been in the past few weeks what it was earlier in the season. So how do you see that?
We're going to load up. We're going to try to give the run an advantage in the way we set it up. Very conscious of wanting to run that ball.
Having Leighton Vander Esch back at middle linebacker, I know so important for you, even just from a communication standpoint. You also have Tyler Biadasz back, so it's really interesting to see that you're as healthy as you've been really in the last couple months.
Absolutely, it's huge point, and for us, and then to see Peters out at left tackle. To see Tyron Smith at right tackle. Peters haven't gotten the snaps he's gotten in all year. The caliber of player that he is and has been really does give us a better shot out there. And then Tyron, who's just continually to come back. The rust knocks off, as you might say. But, boy, I like the way we're lining up out here tonight with our tackles. Got some good backup for them to give them a break or two in there. And then, of course, Biadasz is back with us at center. It's a big deal. And I like what we've done to get ready in the offensive line.
And you added to the secondary by bringing in Xavier Rhodes, and I know that he's going to be part of the rotation, backing up Deron Bland. What's a reasonable expectation for Xavier Rhodes? And since it is his Cowboy debut, what should fans expect to see from him?
He's playing a position that has the ability to transcend, move into a team. The issues involved your first game out with a team, that system, that those coordinators, but that corner position allows you to have a little more of the sameness that goes on at that position around the NFL. So I'm glad we're doing something over at corner rather than trying to do something similarly at slot or at safety.
We appreciate the visit. Thanks so much, Jerry, and happy playoffs. Have fun tonight. That's the view from the owner's box. And as we continue counting down to kickoff, let's rejoin Brian and Eric.
Thank you, Christy. Tonight's View from the Owner's Box brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. Offensively tonight brought us, got to get CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard involved, right? They got to be focal points. Last year in the playoff game versus the Niners, that wasn't really the case.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Todd Bowles does and who he tries to take away in this game. Does he try and take away Lamb, or does he try and take away Schultz in this game? And because he probably feels like that he can match up well enough with Gallup, and then also if he has to do something with Hilton, then you'll know very early in this game when you see, the replays of the balls that go to Lamb, where the safeties are lined up or where the corners are playing. So these really, really good defensive coordinators will take away your biggest threat. And they'll and I'll say this, Dak has not always seen the field very well. So I would not be surprised one bit if we see Antoine Winfield, number 31, who plays a lot in the slot, if we see him play more of a role maybe in the middle of the field and then try and be a guy that goes kind of back and forth and just kind of plays that what we call a robber, and then see if they can confuse Dak that way.
I'm being informed that I said 7.1 ounces in regards to the weight of Micah Parsons' baby. And that seems a little small, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Well, I got fooled because that's how Micah tweeted it out. He tweeted out 7.1 ounces, exclamation points.
Pounds.
So, 7 pounds, 1 ounce, I imagine, is what he was going for.
I'd like to catch a fish like that. 7 pound bass would be really good.
All right. What else would be really good? A Cowboy victory. Let's chop it up with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Shan. We go inside the booth, live from Tampa. Coming up next, you're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. to kickoff. Are you kidding me, ladies and gentlemen? This is beautiful. This is what we live for. All right, the season started against these Buccaneers, and we thought the season ended on that same night. Our quarterback went down. Team looked incompetent. Now you wake up, and everything is out in front of you, and it's redemption time. Redemption on week 1, redemption on all the years of road playoff losses, redemption on that 0-7 versus Brady. We're 25 minutes to putting it all out there. And right now, we go to Tampa, brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. We welcome in Brad Sham as we go inside the booth. Brad, how are we feeling on this playoff game night?
Oh, fantastic. It's 50-something degrees, and there's hardly a hint of wind, and it's just beautiful. What could be bad?
What could be bad? Absolutely nothing right now. We're feeling fantastic as well back here in the Metroplex. And I'm curious, Brad, what are your thoughts about this offensive line shakeup here that the Cowboys are rocking with?
It's not that much of a shakeup, really. They've been playing these guys for a little while, and I think that they think that Tyler Smith at left guard and Peters at left tackle gives them the best chance to do what they want to do, and it also gives them a chance to work Connor McGovern back into the Big Mac fullback role, with which they had great success running the ball a year ago. So I think we'll see a little bit of that.
Brad, you need Xavier Rhodes to be Xavier Rhodes from several years ago.
Well, good luck to you.
Yeah, exactly. Is it one of those things that you're going to say, hey, just get up there and battle as the best you can, and let's see how the chips fall here?
Well, yeah. I mean, Mike McCarthy said the other day that he thought that Rhodes would probably not be the starter, and we haven't heard anything to contradict that, but it won't take long for him to get in the game. Nashawn Wright is inactive tonight.
Right.
And so they're going with an extra safety. They've got Mukwamu and Marquise Bell active, so Mukwamu would be the next corner in line. So, I mean, I think they trust Bland, and if they didn't like what they've seen of Rhodes so far, then that they would not have him in there. It's part of the vagaries of the season. They're down 2 of their top cornerbacks. That happens, and so you have to do the best you can. And this is they've done the best they could, I think, at that position.
Brad, I'm going to let you run the ball well tonight or blitz and get pressure. Which one you going with?
Oh, I'm going to run the ball well.
Okay, absolutely,
because blitzing. Hey, you think Tom Brady's going to be confused or excited about pressure? And you have to find a way to get into the middle, into the interior, into at least the B gaps, not just around the outside to get to him, get around his face, get around his feet. You may not sack him. That's okay. But if I can run the ball well, then I'll take my chances on what I can do defensively.
How much running of the football would you like to see Dak Prescott do tonight?
Whatever he needs to do. Let's not confuse him with Jalen Hurts, okay? He's able to run, and I think that's going to be up to him, the way they play him, and I trust him to make the right decisions about what's available there.
Appreciate the time, as always, Brad. Enjoy the game.
All right, Eric, you too. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. There he goes, voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. And now we go back out to Tampa, and we welcome in Christy Scales, Cowboys sideline reporter, for her keys to the game, brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. And let's pick up right where we left off there with Brad here, Christy. I mean, do you feel like Dak running the ball? Hey, it's playoff time. I know it's not something you want to do week in, week out in the NFL with your quarterback, but playoff time, Dak scrambling could probably bode well for the offense.
Exactly. There's no saving anything for next week or saving yourself, because it's all or nothing tonight to move on. So yeah, pick your spots, but that's one thing. Usually the quarterback is the guy that's unaccounted for, and Dak, even though he's mobile and can move around, it's not like they have a spy on him. So I think it can be very, very effective. But to your point earlier with Brad about the importance of establishing the run, and it's something that they weren't able to do in Zeke was averaging over 5 yards a carry, but falling behind and not possessing the ball much, particularly in the second quarter. They weren't able to stick with it as much as they need to stick with it tonight in this playoff game.
Christy, the thing that might concern you the most about the offense, we talk about running. Is it the turnovers that are we just going to expect that, or how do you see that kind of playing out?
Yeah, you got to protect the ball tonight. The thing is, the Tampa Bay, one reason why they had a losing record, they're a division champion, but they were -2 in turnovers.
Yeah.
They only had 20 takeaways the whole season, but they have 9 takeaways in the last 5 games, so they're on a roll with that. So the number one thing in any football game is who's going to win the turnover battle. That's usually the statistic that determines most NFL games, and I would say it's especially true in the playoffs, of course.
Who do you trust more to step up tonight? If CeeDee Lamb's going to be double covered and Tampa's trying to do everything they can to erase him, is it Michael Gallup or T.Y. Hilton you trust more right now?
Well, T.Y. Hilton has the most playoff experience of any Cowboy on the current roster. So and especially in those third down situations, we've seen over the last few weeks that he can be a go-to guy for Dak. So I'm hoping that Michael Gallup does step up. He has really disappeared at times over the last month, but need him to have a good game. But T.Y. Hilton, relying on his playoff experience, let's see if he can be a go-to guy for Dak tonight.
Christy, I'm going to give you a choice, Bland or Wilson. Who's going to have the big one for you tonight?
Donovan Wilson, you mean?
Yeah.
With a takeaway. You know what? Dono had the interception in week 1, so let's see if he can get another one tonight. I'm going to go Dono. If you go Bland, that's cool with me. You know what? Can we say both?
Sure.
Maybe 2 each. Let's go with 2 each. How about that?
I love it. That's fantastic. We appreciate it, Christy. As always, enjoy the game.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes. Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, always bringing the scoop here on the official pregame show of America's team. And now it is prediction time. But first, Broadus, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan. Hello, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
I usually go to you first, Broadus, but I want to end with some just top-notch positivity. So I'm going to start. All right. Now, I feel like the Cowboys are going to have every opportunity to win this game tonight. This is what I believe to be a game that is going to come down to the wire. You've seen it all wild card weekend long. It doesn't matter what quarterback is playing. Is it Skylar Thompson versus Josh Allen? Is it Tyler Huntley versus Joe Burrow? Underdog teams left and right, whether you're down 27-0 in the second quarter. Crazy things happen, and these games are just never easy. I don't anticipate any team blowing each other out here, but I don't have the confidence in the Cowboys or the trust for them to, when it matters most, winning within the margins in the playoffs right now. I just can't. I can't say I trust him to do that. I trust Brady more in these moments. Of course, why wouldn't you? He's the GOAT. And I'm concerned about Xavier Rhodes and Mike Evans maybe getting some big plays tonight, or Chris Godwin, whoever it is that's going to be on Rhodes, I think could be a little bit problematic there. So I'm picking the Bucs to win 23-20 in a nail biter, but Brady does it again in the end.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys. I have the Cowboys winning 27-23. I think they figure out some things defensively. I think they figure out how to attack this Buccaneer offensive line. I know Brady wants to get the ball out quick. We'll see if the coverage holds up on the outside. But I do like the fact, I think Micah Parsons has a really, really big game for you. I wouldn't be surprised, too, if Tank Lawrence also plays well.
Okay, so this pass rush is giving you some confidence tonight.
I'm just saying, though, with Donovan Smith and all that, I think the Buccaneers know they might have some problems there.
Okay, fantastic. And we do know that Donovan Smith, he got worked by Micah Parsons in week 1, and Donovan Smith is the 4th most penalized tackle in the sport. Maybe the Cowboys can get some more holding calls, and you set Tampa back 1st and 20, 2nd and 2nd and 15. These are the kinds of things the Cowboys flourished on through the first 10 weeks of the season. So that would be an absolute welcome sight. Let's get this victory, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot wait to eat crow tomorrow. We will get you Zach Wolchuk and Brian Broaddus on the postgame show. But and at halftime as well. But kickoff is right around the corner. Brad, Babe, Christy got you the rest of the way. And Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.